Good morning, Senator.
You have a nice number there, I notice also, AB1.
Yes, I worked to
got up
get
early
that.
for that.
I got up early for that. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Assembly Bill 1 specifically highlights that teachers, as part of participating in professional growth programs, have the option to enroll in courses including negotiation, mediation, and conflict resolution. These programs might include components such as basic negotiation, communication skills, basic mediation and peer mediation training, as well as theory and practice of nonviolence and peace building. Today's teachers often find themselves confronting societal pressures and stresses manifest in the classroom. Diversity in student population, conflict at home, bullying by peers represent examples of conflict that directly or indirectly confront teachers. Providing teachers with enhanced skills to address conflict in the classroom or on the schoolyard, as well as providing the tools for the introduction of negotiation and mediation skills to students through already established curriculum, will inure to the safety of our schools, as well as to the promotion of a culture of principled conflict resolution practice. Members, I ask for your aye vote. I do have some witnesses here in support of the bill. Mr. Chair, with your permission, I'd like to present those witnesses.
Please go ahead.
Good morning. Kim Stone with the Civil Justice Association of California. Our mission is to work to reduce excessive and unjustified litigation that drives up costs for schools, governments, businesses, and others. The reason I bring that up is that you don't see CJAC before the Senate Education Committee very often. The reason that we're here supporting this bill is that we believe that allowing teachers to choose ongoing education in the area of conflict resolution may very well help to reduce excessive and unjustified litigation that can drive up expenses to schools, particularly at times now of budget pressures. It does not make sense for schools to be spending money on litigation that they could be spending educating their students. A study by a group called the Citizens Against Lawsuit Abuse found that 3 of California's 5 largest school districts paid $32.8 million in litigation costs in a year.
If I could hold you mid-thought right now, we have a quorum. It's a very special thing when we get a quorum, and so we'd like to call the roll, and then please remember where you were and resume thought. Please call the roll.
Romero, Huff,
Here.
Alquist, Hancock, Liu, Maldonado, here. Padilla, here. Semidian, Weiland. Here. We have 5-0. We have a quorum.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Stone. Please resume.
Thank you. So in 1 year, 3 of the state's largest school districts spent $32.8 million in litigation costs. Some of those cases of questionable merit included a lawsuit seeking $1.5 million in damages against a school after a basketball player was moved from the varsity to the junior varsity team. And another lawsuit was filed by middle school students in Napa claiming that the school's no logos, no denim rule violated their constitutional rights. The Napa Valley Unified School District paid at least $95,000 in lawyers' fees under a settlement reached with the families, plus additional fees for their own lawyers. I'm not saying that allowing teachers to study alternative forms of dispute resolution is going to eliminate frivolous lawsuits against schools, but it's certainly a step in the right direction. And for that reason, we support the bill and urge your aye vote.
Okay, thank you. And as is the custom in this committee, we'll have 2 witnesses speak in favor, and then the rest will just identify themselves and their position. So you guys, battle who's the second speaker, and please go ahead.
Hi, Terry Burns on behalf of the California School Counselors Association. And particularly in an era where we are declining the number of adults on campuses, reducing the number of skilled professionals on campuses, it makes a lot of sense to have the adults who are there very skilled in alternative mediation. Dispute resolution on campuses can be from anything to, you've got a fist fight, you've got 2 girls who are unhappy about the same boy, all of those things out there. Anything that we can do to teach students how to solve these problems without resorting to weapons, without resorting to family interactions after school, all of those things will be helpful. Again, as I say, we're looking at a time when we're pulling adults off campuses as campus safety supervisors, as counselors, as resource officers, all of those things. So we think this is a good step in the right direction.
Okay.
Cecilia Mansfield, California State PTA, also in support for many of the reasons that Ms. Burns cited. We recognize that school districts can choose to do this, but we think it's important enough to protect students on campuses from bullying and all of those kinds of things that teachers have opportunities to improve their skills and help keep students safe at school.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other witnesses in favor? Seeing none, any witnesses in opposition? Seeing none, any questions or comments by the committee? Senator Wyland.
Just a couple of things. I want to make sure that this was currently allowed in current law, but the intent of the bill is to highlight it.
That's correct, Senator. As is identified in the committee analysis, teachers currently could pursue this. We want to create a culture that will promote people pursuing this option maybe compared to some other options they have. Again, it's important to underscore this doesn't mandate any curriculum, no cost associated with it. Some school districts are doing tremendous work in this area, but quite honestly, there's quite a patchwork. And the hope of this bill is to elevate an awareness that these training options exist and to try to infiltrate it throughout our school districts throughout the state.
Okay, so in other words, a district could do it, but this just highlights the fact that this is something they ought to consider. And I want to be a little clear because the testimony included, obviously there are frivolous lawsuits brought, some really strange ones. You see it occasionally in athletics, and one was mentioned. You're talking mainly, if I understand it, about conflicts among and between students.
Right. The bill really goes to encouraging teachers as part of their professional growth to avail themselves to existing training programs. It doesn't even mandate districts, although we would hope districts would popularize this among their teachers as they pursue voluntary professional growth. You're absolutely right. We're not seeking to intervene with any type of conflict resolution when there's threats of lawsuits or lawsuits. We do believe, however, that if we arm teachers with these skills, that they will introduce those both in practice in the classroom, also to students. There are studies that show the earlier you give students these communication skills, a way to analyze conflict, they can avert violent conflict and become better problem solvers. It's a life skill, a tool they can use throughout.
Okay, and the district would decide, because it's district teacher professional training, they decide if they want to include it in the classroom, they want all teachers to do it. Yeah. The only other comment I'd make is about bullying, which is a problem in all schools. Bullying has increased dramatically since teachers no longer had recess duty in the elementary school. And too many districts just hire someone out there to kind of make sure no one kills somebody else.
Right.
And that, I think, it would be important, but it's not directly related to this. I'm glad to see a bill that's permissive come here because in the Senate, and many are told that we cannot have bills that do not mandate something. But having been the author of such bills and think that that's not a bad idea, I'm glad to see one come here.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay. Any other questions by committee members? Is there a motion? Okay, we have a motion. We've already had our testimony. If the author knows what you want to speak about, can incorporate that in his close. Would you care to close?
I would like to close, Mr. Chair, and ask for the committee's aye vote and then ask for another witness in support just to identify her name for the record as part of my close. Thank you.
Thank you. Dolores Sanchez with the California Federation of Teachers. We are very much in support of the bill. Thank you.
And as part of that close, one other witness in support.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, members. Donna Brownsley, representing the California Dispute Resolution Council, which is the trade association for arbitrators and mediators and conflict resolvers. Thank you. We're in support.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for your close. All right, clerk, call a roll, please.
Romero. Huff.
No.
Huff. No. Alquist. Alquist. Aye. Hancock.
Aye.
Hancock. Aye. Lou. Maldonado. Maldonado. Aye. Padilla.
Aye.
Padilla. Aye. Semidian. Wyland. Wyland. Aye.
Okay. There's enough to get out. We will leave it on call for members that are not
Thank
here.
you, Mr. Chair.
for your
Thank you,
presentation.
members.
And is Mr. Anderson our next presenter here? I do see Assemblyman Cook out here. Is there anybody else in line before Cook?
No, not the.
Assemblyman Cook, are you ready to present? Well, come on up and meet your fate. And I understand you've been saying derogatory things about the chair today. That would be me.
Well, other than you can't fish, you're never on time.
You're scoring really well. Keep talking. Please go ahead and present.
I'm not the sharpest person in the world,
This
obviously.
is item 14, AB 774.
Yes, AB 774 will allow the creation of a student-funded transit program where Riverside Community College District students can ride all of the Riverside Transit Agency's fixed route and commuter buses free of charge. RCCD, or Riverside Community College District, has 3 campuses in western Riverside County, over 34,000 students, each of which must travel to class mostly by driving a single occupant vehicle. The volume of traffic adds to the congestion, contributes to the emissions problems harming the community's environment, quality of life. Western Riverside County has some of the worst air quality in Southern California. And in addition, the traffic on the area's streets and freeways often comes to a standstill, particularly during commuting hours. In the 2008 and 9 academic year, a one-time grant created a successful pilot program allowing the college district students, community college students, to ride free. Under this pilot program, ridership among these students went up 4 times, from a mere 2% to 10% of all the students. With an enrollment growth of over 10% per year, the campuses are already outgrowing their parking facilities in spite of a recently completed new parking structure at the Riverside campuses. This is a concern for the Riverside Community College District because of the considerable cost of constructing additional spaces in these trying economic times. This program requires a majority of students and/or employees, if affected, at each campus to approve the fee at the level proposed by the governing board in order for the program to take effect. This is not a fee coming from Sacramento or above. This is locally determined. This program has been implemented successfully in Rio Hondo and Los Rios Community College District. The pilot program in Riverside proved that such a program would be successful. Now, I might add, some of you know that I was a college professor at community college. I taught history and political science at Copper Mountain College. We also did the same thing at our community college. It's very, very rural, and without it, I don't know if we would have been able to get those students to class, quite frankly. It was much more disadvantaged. Now, I talked to the chair, and in your analysis, I believe there's an amendment to include this for the whole state rather than do this on a step-by-step basis. And I talked to the consultant. We had a great conversation. I'm looking for you. I got my reading glasses on. Obviously, I cannot see very far in advance, but we actually do like that. The problem is, in the conversations that we've had with the governor's staff, I don't know if they're going to approve that, but I talked to the chair yesterday. I know she's going to be back later today, and we were trying to work that out to see if we could do that. Right now, let's just say I haven't been able to convince the governor's staff of the new amendment, and my purpose here is obviously to help the students of Riverside Community College. The the environment, everything like that. And we're going to continue to work this, and this is not done from a macro standpoint, but this particular bill, we obviously want to keep it moving forward and hopefully get it passed. So I ask for your aye vote, but I have all my witnesses here.
Thank you,
I
Colonel
would
Cook.
move the bill.
Okay, we'll hold that
Senator
until the appropriate time so we don't cut off discussion. But I would remind you there's 2 witnesses speak in favor, then 2 against if we have that. So please go ahead.
But, go ahead.
My name is Karen Spiegel. I am the chairman of Riverside Transit Agency in the board of directors, and also Mayor Pro Tem of the city of Corona, which is very much affected by the RCC district. And we're here, I don't want to duplicate Assemblyman Cook's words, but we're trying to establish an effort to do a permanent transit pass program for the Riverside Community College District so all students can ride the RTA fixed routes or commuter bus without paying a fare each time they board. And this will be financed through a universal fee paid by every student through the semester. 1/2 of the students in the Riverside Community College District are considered low income, which means finances are a major concern. And being able to ride the RTA fixed route buses at school for no charge to work, to school, to other destinations would go a long way in helping ends meet and would affect whether they can afford to stay in school or not. And those that have cars, they can leave them at home and use the bus system instead. Establishing a permanent student-funded transit ridership program for all students would introduce a number of them to the benefits of riding buses and hopefully making them lifelong riders after they leave college. In addition, a student bus ridership program benefits the environment by decreasing the air pollution and greenhouse gases, and as mentioned earlier by the Assemblyman, is a very severe problem in our area. The communities around the campuses will enjoy decreased traffic congestion, and students can leave their cars at home. If this is not enacted, the likelihood of creating a permanent student-funded program would be doubtful. If AB 774 is passed, the students and Board of Trustees will still have to vote to create the program and impose the fees, so it's not something that we're delegating onto them. The bill merely allows the fees to be equally distributed among the students. The concept behind this bill is fair and equal for all students and will be a critical factor in establishing a workable student transit program that will benefit the environment of western Riverside County, the quality of life of its residents, the Riverside Community College District, and the students of all 3 campuses. It is the support of a number of organizations and the Riverside Community College District. I urge you to pass this important piece of legislation.
Next witness.
Good morning. Excuse me. My name is Bonnie Flickinger. I'm a member of the Riverside Transit Agency Board of Directors and the Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Moreno Valley. The free ride program that was a pilot, the temporary program, has resulted in average boardings by Riverside Community College students rising from 15,000 per month to 70,000 per month. Students who had never ridden the bus before now use it regularly. We know it works and the students want it. But I'm not addressing you today just as a member of the Board of Directors. I'm also addressing you as a student at the Riverside Community College District. And the students that I have met on campus are very enthusiastic about this program because they cannot afford a car, and this allows them to get to their classes free of charge. Funding for the pilot program is temporary, and a permanent program must be established soon if it's to continue. We urge you to pass this important piece of legislation and allow our community college district to establish the program to help thousands of students. Thank you.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support?
My name is Larry Rubio. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Riverside Transit Agency and a former student of Riverside Community College District, and I strongly support this bill.
Thank you. Other witnesses in favor? Witnesses against? All right, seeing none, we'll bring back to the committee for comments. I'd just like to say, even though I have an extreme urge to haze the presenter because of his derogatory comments to the chair, this is actually an excellent bill. I served on a transit board for 5 years. I tried to encourage it in the colleges while I was on the board. It didn't happen, but it did take with Rio Hondo, and it's been a successful endeavor since then, and the students do like it. I do see it as accomplishing many goals that we have up here, so I heartily endorse the bill as well. Senator Weiland.
Senator
I don't have any such constraints about hazing the author.
Yeah.
I think it's really remarkable that we've got a Republican presenting a fee bill. We should really, acknowledge that, that this is a fee bill, and I'm going to support it. So you're going to have, 2 Republicans on the committee, at least maybe 3, supporting this fee bill.
Is this post-partisanship or whatever phrase was in a few?
It's a brave new world.
It's a very sensible solution, too, and we should keep that in mind as we move forward in other areas, it seems to me. I think this is an excellent bill and would encourage you to work with the governor's office so that we don't have every community college district having to come in with its own piece of legislation, each of which costs money. I believe that I was reminded, I think I carried a similar bill for Peralta community colleges. Many community colleges will look at this. It is a win-win for the environment, for students, for the community colleges. So thank you for carrying the bill, Senator
Hold
Cook.
that thought right now, Colonel. Senator Alquist. We've got a motion already.
I have an affinity with the presenter because I caught a 20-pound salmon out of my little 12-foot aluminum bass boat in Monterey Bay. It took me 20 minutes to land it.
Wow.
So I am also a fisher person here.
Maybe you could teach the chair how to do it.
Perhaps, yes.
You'll be fishing for votes here very shortly, sir.
It's a very good bill. I would like to be a co-author if it continues to remain statewide in its application. Thank you. And it's been moved already by Senator.
And I'd like to just clarify what the motion is. Are you willing to take the chair's, that's the chair of yesterday and the chair of the committee's motion, and then if that doesn't work with the governor's office, to amend it back?
Well, we wanted to hesitate right now. We had a conversation, and I want to thank your consultant very much for talking to me earlier. One of the suggestions we did was to send a letter out to all the community colleges with a background on this particular bill. And if we got that feedback, I think that overwhelming support hopefully would influence, the governor's office. And the purpose, of course, is to take care. I didn't want to endanger it right now. I wanted it to go forward, but I wanted to keep that option open as we're going through this negotiation, if I could.
So to clarify, you want to keep it as presented?
Yes, if I
and you
could.
will try to work it to the other. And I guess the question is then, is that you okay with that as the maker of the motion? All right. You know the intent of the committee.
Yeah, I have great confidence in the intent of the author and hope that we can persuade the governor.
Thank you, Senator.
Any Republican that will carry a fee bill, we trust. So
let's not advertise this, please.
So then if it at some point in APROPS or some other place it becomes statewide, then I would like to be a co-author.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator.
all right, any other questions, comments? We do have a motion. Let's go ahead and call the roll. Motion is due pass.
Romero? Huff? Huff, aye. Alquist?
Aye.
Alquist, aye. Hancock?
Aye.
Hancock, aye. Lou? Lou, aye. Maldonado? Maldonado, aye. Padilla? Padilla, aye. Semidian? Wyland? Wyland, aye. It's 7-0.
7-0, enough votes. 7-0, enough votes to get it out. We will hold it on call for those who are not with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel.
Thank you for your attention.
Our next presenter, I believe we have Assemblyman Anderson here. Will be item 3, AB 66. If it was AB 666, I'd be concerned. Go ahead. You can go ahead and start while they're getting seated. We want to run this in a crisp manner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, AB 66 is a simple measure that updates the process of authorizing student work permits. Last year, this bill came before the committee as AB 2213. It passed through the committee with all your support, and I thank you for your help this year. Unfortunately, the governor, this fell victim to the blanket veto last year by the governor. We're rerunning the bill. It helps kids, and it's a local control bill. And with me today, speaking on the issue, is Mary Schofield, in Ron Reynolds, and we have a variety of additional supporters. So with that, I'd like to flip it over to my witnesses.
Very good. First witness.
Good morning. My name is Mary Schofield. I'm here today representing the independent and private schools of California. Last year, this committee did pass the same legislation unanimously, so I'm here to ask you to do the same thing today. Basically, what AB 66 does is that it authorizes school principals to issue work permits to students enrolled in their schools. And what that does is moves the responsibility of ensuring that a student's education is not hampered by his job to a person who actually oversees the student's education. It also links the hours that a student can work to the school that the student actually attends. And so it's a simple bill. We appreciate your support very much. These changes are needed just to ensure that students can have jobs and that their jobs will not negatively impact their education. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair and committee members. Ron Reynolds, California Association of Private School Organizations. AB 66 streamlines the process by which students are able to receive work permits. The bill would move the locus of responsibility closer to the actual recipients of the permits and would increase accountability by requiring principals accepting the issuing authority to self-certify their familiarity with relevant laws. The bill would, as Mary indicated, align the issuance of work permits with the calendars actually maintained by the schools in which recipients are enrolled, rather than, as is currently the case, aligning work periods in accordance with the calendar maintained by a local public school district. So it's a bill that makes good sense for superintendents, for principals, for students, for parents. And as was indicated, the bill was passed out of both policy committees last year with nary a no vote, as was the case on both floors, and was vetoed for reasons that had absolutely nothing to do with its contents. So we request support for this important bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Remaining witnesses, please state your name and affiliation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Ned DeLacy for the California Catholic Conference, representing the Catholic schools in the state in support.
Very good. Additional witnesses in favor? Somebody make some room there. Thank you, Sergeant. Let's try to queue up and move up here quickly.
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, I'm Virginia Strom Martin on behalf of the Los Angeles Unified School District, representing 700,000 students. We think this is an excellent bill. It would provide our students opportunities for good work experiences, and in the fiscal economy being what it is, they need all the help they can get.
Okay, thank you. We've had our statements already, so just state your name and affiliation. Thanks.
Good morning. I'm Betty Sue Constanzo. I'm a proxy speaker for the legislative director of the Church State Council, who is out of town. I'm also the principal of Sacramento Adventist Academy here in Carmichael. And for the past 4 years that I've been there, we've been
And you are in support.
I am in support.
Thank you very much. Next witness. No more witnesses in favor. Witnesses against, please. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the committee. Any questions, comments? Senator Liu.
Thank you. How do you respond to in the analysis about creates a potential inequity in a school district if we allow principals' discretion? I mean, there's not a uniformity. You know, if one person, if the superintendent or his or her designee does this, then you have more uniformity. But if you allow every school in the district or high school in the district to do their own thing, so to speak, how does that account for the uniformity of?
Well, one of the problems that we have under the current situation is you have a superintendent who has no connection to those students.
I understand that, but how do you?
Well,
how do we make sure that we address every kid equally?
Well, when you say equally, I'm still, I guess, a little confused about the question. When you say equally, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, if we allow principals to make their decisions at every school site, there may be some principals who will allow X person, you know, so many hours, and somebody else, another principal, do something different, et cetera. So how do you address the uniformity issue?
Well, they all get the same training. They're all working under the same rules. But I'll defer to my two star witnesses.
That's actually a good question, but I think that it's exactly the reverse of what you're thinking. Under the current system, there's a great deal of variables because the student may not even know who's issuing the permit. Under statute, there are set guidelines under which permits are issued. There's a list of types of jobs and work that are unsafe for minors, and they flat out get a no if they're applying for a job in that field. Otherwise, the duty is to verify that the job does not negatively impact his education. If it does, if a student gets a job and he is showing up late and can't do his schoolwork, the permit is supposed to be revoked. The problem is that currently the person who issues the permit is so far removed from the student that it's a lengthy process to ensure that somebody even knows that is going on. So by moving the authority closer to the student, we hope to combat exactly that issue. The principal's job will be to make sure that his schoolwork is not lagging as a result of the job. Other than that, the number of hours a student can work, the types of employment that he can have is already in the labor code.
Okay, and the other question, I was just kind of curious.
I'm going to follow up with that. Just when the superintendent also may review and revoke any of them, so they haven't lost their authority. That we've just brought it closer, so they still have the ability to review and revoke.
Okay. I was just kind of curious, among your support were folks that were homeschool educators. How do they issue these work permits?
Do you mean under current law?
Right.
Under current law, the local superintendent can authorize other people within the district to issue the permits, for example, a work experience teacher and that sort of thing. So it depends on where a homeschool student or a small private school that does not have authority to issue permits. In some districts, they go to the county office of education. In others, they go to the local public school where they meet with.
So it's varied.
It varies very widely, and that's one of the problems we want to solve.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Would you care to close, Mr. Assemblyman?
AB 66 is a common sense bill that updates the code to put all charter, alternative, public and private schools on an equal playing field. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
All right, is there a motion? Motion by Weiland, do pass. Please call the roll.
Romero, Huff,
Aye.
Huff, aye. Alquist, Hancock, Lou,
Aye.
Lou, aye. Maldonado, Maldonado, aye. Padilla,
Aye.
Padilla, aye. Semidian, Wyland, Wyland, aye. 5-0. It's enough.
Okay. That's enough to get it out, but we will keep the roll open. Thank you very much. Move on to Assemblywoman Carter, who has two bills. I believe she's the next presenter with us. And I'm just going to remind those of you making presentations, the rules of our committee are 2 speakers in favor, and make sure the author knows which 2 those are. And try to keep your comments succinct. We have a number of bills we're trying to move through this agenda. Anyone else that has comments, tell the author so they can include it in their close. Thank you, Ms. Carter. Please go ahead. Which bill will you be presenting?
Thank you, sir. I will be presenting 174 first.
Very good. Item number 7.
Mr. Chair and members, I'm presenting AB 174, a bill on unification proposals. Unification proposals are reviewed carefully at the local level by the county committee before that committee makes a recommendation regarding the unification to the State Board of Education. This review includes public hearings and analysis of the same conditions that the SBE considers. Although many unifications are locally controversial, some unifications are supported by all affected districts as well as by the county committee, but still have to go through the rigorous process for approval. This bill would allow county committees to approve unifications when all affected districts supports the unification, and the county superintendent of schools supports the local approval process, without having to come to the SBE for additional approval. Additionally, this bill reduces costs of county offices of education and school districts to provide the CDE information regarding the unification and reduces the delay in implementing the fiscal benefits of district reorganizations. Today I have with me Lupita Cortez Alcala, Director of Legislative Affairs for the Superintendent of Public Instructions, to speak in support of this measure, and so I ask her to speak at this time.
Welcome. Please present.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair and members. Lupita Cortez Alcala on behalf of the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Jack O'Connell, who's a sponsor and strong supporter of this measure. I have with me Larry Shirey with our School for Fiscal Services Division to answer any technical questions. We just want to reiterate, I think Assemblymember Carter did a great job in describing what the bill does. We've had about 21 such unifications come before the State Board in the last 12 years, and they've all been approved. This would just leave it at the local level. They would also have to agree to any cost incurred at the local level as well. And we are working with the Department of Finance, I understand they're opposed, because they just want to make sure that that language is really tight, that those costs incurred at the local level are, in fact, agreed to by all parties. So we'll continue working with them on that issue. But this leaves this issue at the local level where it belongs, and it still goes before the voters for the ultimate approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Next witness.
And Chair for questions.
Okay. Any witnesses? Any other witnesses in support? Any witnesses against? Any questions, comments from the committee? Okay, we have a motion. Would you care to close, Ms. Carter?
Yes, this measure has received strong bipartisan support as it moved through the Assembly, and so I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. The motions are due pass. Please call the roll.
Romero. Huff.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. The motion should be due pass to rules.
Due pass to rules. Aye.
Okay. Alquist. Hancock. Blue. Maldonado. Aye. Maldonado, aye. Padilla.
Aye.
Padilla, aye. Semidian. Wyland.
Aye.
Wyland, aye. Lou.
Lou, aye.
Lou, aye. That's what I said.
That's enough to get out. We will hold it on call.
Thank you,
very
sir.
much. Now you present your next bill.
The next bill,
AB 774, item 14.
796.
796.
Oh, excuse me. I was flipping the wrong one. 796, item 15. Check
Thank
to see
you.
if you're awake here.
My second bill before you is AB 796. We've looked for ways for a long time to increase the participation of young people in the civic life of their communities. AB 796 proposes to add participation in civic engagement activities to the current list of which students should be given an excused absence from school. Many young people gain valuable life skills and experiences in activities outside the classroom, such as participation in a community committee, an advisory board or task force, attendance at an educational conference about the legislative or judicial process, or as a member of a youth commission. This measure ensures that students are not penalized for their participation in civic and leadership activities. Today I have with me Amy Dean, who is the Executive Director for Alliance for Education Solutions, and Sam Gammon, a student at Met High School in Sacramento, to speak in support of this measure. Sam, do you want to start?
Sure. Thank you, Assemblymember. So my name is Sam Gammon, and I am a member of the Sacramento Youth Commission here in Sacramento. And I am fortunate enough to go to a charter high school that rewards me for pursuing my passions, which include civic engagement and politics. Thousands of other students in the state of California aren't as fortunate as I am. And I think that everyone can agree that civic engagement is an important part of a wholesome American education. It would be the bare minimum for the state legislature to move to not penalize students for participating in civic engagement and move to encourage that by allowing students to participate in their community. It does mention in the legislation to limit this civic engagement to 10 days per academic year, so there's really not a chance for students to exploit this new option for participating in their community, and I would definitely be in support of this bill. Thank you.
Okay, you have one more speaker, so you determine which one it is, and please go ahead and present.
My name is Anna Ruth Crittenden, and I just graduated from San Domenico High School, where I was student body president. I've been involved with the Youth Leadership Institute for 2 years, and I was a member of the Marin Youth Health Advisory Council, and I had a couple opportunities during school hours to participate in civic engagement, and luckily I was able to, talk to my teachers and have an excused absence. That experience included we work on underage binge drinking issues, so I was invited to be a speaker on a local radio show, and I had to miss school for that, but I was able to really just get out into the community, and I think that's really important for our education in high school. We're just getting ready to be adults and have full rights as when we turn 18. So in high school, we should be able to have the opportunity and not be penalized for participating in our communities. So I've been involved with that, and I'm in strong favor of this bill.
Thank you. I'm Alexandria Cronin. Is this on? Yeah. From the Youth Leadership Institute, we're a co-sponsor of this bill. I urge you to support it.
Thank you. Next witness.
Amy Dean, Alliance for Education Solutions, co-sponsor of the bill.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? Any witnesses in opposition? Questions or comments by the committee? Senator Wyland.
Assemblywoman Carter, I'm torn about this bill. It looks to me like in the Assembly it was voted on pretty much on party lines. I believe in this basic concept, and I think today I'm probably just going to abstain and think about it more. I wish it defined a little bit more civic activities. I do like the idea that it, as I understand it, it would be a non-profit organization or civic engagement activities offered by a non-profit organization or a governmental entity. So it wouldn't involve working on a campaign. Students may want to do that, which would be great. So I just need to think about it a little bit more. The basic concept, I think, is really good. I think we have another problem which relates to this, and that is all the studies show that students know, and I should say this to the students know far, far less about American history and American government than they have in an earlier era. They know less about current affairs than an earlier era. Fewer are registered to vote, and fewer vote. And this might be something that would encourage that. So I guess I'm saying it's a good idea, but I just need to spend a little more time with it, and maybe we can even talk about it.
Well, Senator, I still want to remind you that it's still at the discretion of the site administrator to give permission for students to be excused for civic engagement. And so it's not given that that will occur. And I think the advantage of being exposed to legislative events is a way to encourage their further study of American history and how we should be involved in that.
I agree, and I think the larger issue is how we get more students and do a better job in teaching students so they understand these institutions and participate. Even though there was a slight rise in participation in this last election, it wasn't as big, as it turns out, as people thought, but it needs to be. And it needs to be informed participation, which is another challenge. Anyway, thanks for bringing the bill, and I just wanted to explain why I'm against it.
And I just want to add one other thing to your comment. Is not so much about, it is about elections and all that, but it's also about community service. It's also about serving your community, which is why I'm so interested in getting this passed. I can't tell you how pleased I've been to have so many students come up from different districts and participate and observe the legislative process and learn about getting involved in their communities and learn so many ways to do that. And so that's just one thing, but it's the community involvement that's really dear to my heart, and which is why I'm still pursuing this bill.
Well, I think it's a good idea, and I may end up supporting it later. I just need to think about it a little bit more, but I think the idea is a good idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Liu.
Assemblymember Carter, I too am concerned about, I guess, a lack of definition as to what civic engagement means. I know that Senator Pavley has a bill that talks about community service, and lots of our high schools have in their requirements that kids do community service. But I think what we term to be civic engagement, we may know what that means, but it's not clearly defined. And how do you hold yourself accountable to what, how do you measure that bar, et cetera? So also, there was a little question, I think, in the staff comments about this bill you ran last year, and it was vetoed by the governor. What makes you think that it's going to be different this year?
Again, we've been working closely with the governor's representatives, and last year, again, the bill got caught up in the
budget
vetoes, and I feel so strongly about this opportunity for students, which is why I reintroduced the bill again this year.
I'm not debating that. I just that I think it would be helpful if we did have a definition as to what it is. Is it community service? What is civic engagement, and how do you define that? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Alquist.
Good morning.
Yes, ma'am.
I think I understand as a former teacher and counselor what you're trying to, and a school board member, as to what you're trying to accomplish, but it's not real clear in the bill as exactly what that means. The civic engagement activities. I will vote for the bill today, but I don't know what I'll be doing on the Senate floor should it get there, and my vote would be determined on whether it is at that point very definitely spelled out what civic engagement activities are and what the parameters of such activities are, because I think it's a little nebulous at this point, and I wouldn't want it to become law as currently written. But I understand what you're trying to do, and I agree with you, and want our students to have the opportunity to participate and have a greater understanding of the world around them. And so if you can work on the bill before it gets to the Senate floor, I would, at that point, like to be able to vote for it.
Yes, in a previous version, I did indicate some of the specifications, and I took it out of this version because it was going to indicate some cost, and so I will make sure that gets back into it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Has the bill been moved?
Not yet.
And I would move the bill.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? Let me just share that I also share that concern about the nebulous nature of the wording. And also it allows for 10 days, which I think may be a little bit much. We only allow 4 hours for religious activities, but 10 days for civic activities. Sometimes they're the same, because certainly religious organizations do many civic activities. So I'd like to see that looked at some. I have concerns that students be getting excused during school time for political campaigns, because there are many nonprofit organizations such as Acorn, MoveForward.com, whatever it is, those other type of, well, it's not a nonprofit for us, it's a nonprofit that benefits the political process, and I'm not sure that's the best use of class time. They can certainly do it outside of the class time. There's plenty of opportunities. And then on your point about the governor's veto, he actually had a pretty specific message that sounded like it was not just caught up in his rash of vetoes that he did seemingly arbitrarily last year, but what he said was, quote, "While I recognize there are many civic and other educational opportunities outside the classroom, nothing under current law prohibits parents from working with a school to allow their child to participate in civic opportunities if they choose to do so, even without this measure." So I think you still have that obstacle to get over for his signature as well. Okay. But you may now close, and we'll take a vote.
Well, I really feel that the opportunity to participate in the legislative process in the Capitol, whether it's the state building or whether it's in Congress or other entities learning about our process and maybe coming up with better ways than we have and giving young people that opportunity. When I was on the school board, I was the first to develop a program in our district so young people could actually run in their school district to serve for a seat on the board and to actually be a board member and not just come and report. And so they had an opportunity to run in their different high schools to win a seat on the board. And they need to learn that process because if we don't develop young people who are coming behind us, then shame on us. And so I think they should be given this opportunity to participate in the process. So I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Assemblymember Carter. We do have a motion, do pass, and have the clerk please call the roll.
Romero, Huff.
No.
Huff, no. Alquist. Alquist, aye. Hancock. Blue. Blue, aye. Maldonado. Padilla. Padilla, aye. Semidian. Wyland. There's not enough votes to get it out.
Okay, not enough votes. It is on call, though, so thank you for your presentation.
Thank you so much.
And we have Assemblywoman Salas next. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Thank you very much for allowing me to present Assembly Bill 261.
Item 8 for those in their binders.
Which conforms the California Education Code with the Federal Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, also known as FERPA. In July of last year, the United States Department of Education conditionally approved California's 2008-2009 Individuals with Disability Education Act, IDEA, grant because of specific sections of the Ed Code were not in compliance with FERPA. Because California receives more than $1 billion in federal funding for special education, our education laws must comply with FERPA to ensure continued funding. AB 261 will solve this problem and allow the state to continue receiving these much-needed special education funds. This bill has not received any no votes and is sponsored by the State Superintendent of Public Instruction's Jack O'Connell. We have Chris Reeves here from the Department of Education available to answer any questions that you may have, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Before we take your witnesses, I'd like to ask the sergeants to call members in case you're not doing that already, since we seem to be running out of people to make presentations. Please, witnesses, go ahead and present.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Chris Reef on behalf of State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Jack O'Connell. Assemblymember Salas put well before you the bill and what its intent is. Strongly want to ask for your aye vote. This has been a long-standing area of non-compliance with the U.S. Department of Education, and we've actually had our conditional status for several years now, and we are seriously concerned or significantly concerned that if these changes are not made, that we further jeopardize our IDEA eligibility. So I strongly ask for your aye vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Erica Hoffman on behalf of the California School Boards Association, also in support of the measure. By at least aligning state statute with federal law for school districts, it will also save them a step in ensuring that they have met all the requirements of FERPA, because right now they do have to go through state law and then go back and double check with federal law and kind of crosswalk them themselves. By at least aligning these statutes, it will at least remove one extra additional step they're going to have to take.
Thank you very much. Any other witnesses in support? Any witnesses against? Questions, comments, motion? Senator Liu? Yeah. All right, so we have a rash of moves. Would you care to close?
I ask for your aye vote.
All right, and the motion is due pass to judiciary. Hard to say that. Clerk, please call the roll.
Romero, Huff.
Aye.
Huff, aye. Alquist. Alquist, aye. Hancock. Blue. Blue, aye. Maldonado. Padilla.
Aye.
Maldonado, aye. Padilla, aye. Semidian. Wyland. Wyland, aye. We have 7.
Okay, that's enough to get out. We will hold it on call.
Thank you very much.
And seeing no members out here, we'll take the consent calendar right now. Is there a motion? And that is items 1 and 9, SB 307 and AB 332. Do we have more on there?
No, we don't have AB 332.
No?
It's item 1, 307.
Okay, we have item 1, SB 307, item 4, AB 81, item 12, AB 669, and 18, AB 1293. Is there a motion? Okay, Senator Liu moves. Clerk, please call the roll.
Romero? Huff?
Aye.
Huff, aye. Alquist? Aye. Alquist, aye. Hancock? Liu? Liu, aye. Maldonado? Maldonado, aye. Padilla? Aye. Padilla, aye. Semidian? Wyland? Wyland, aye. There's enough for it.
All right, that's out. We'll keep it on call. Do, 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 do. We're looking for bill authors. Oh, here comes a bill author, I believe. Assemblyman De Leon, please come to the podium and present your bill. We're happy to see you today. Now you keep stalling. Someone else may sneak in ahead of you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I apologize. I'm a little out of breath right now. I'm huffing and puffing, no pun intended, Mr. Huff.
Yes, well, huffing is a good thing. We like that. And this is AB 1511, item 21.
To get up here as quickly as possible. Mr. Chair, colleagues, members, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present AB 1511, a measure to enhance the safety and security of our children while they're at school. AB 1511 will encourage and enable local school districts and local prosecutors to form a strong school-based partnership that creates a safe school campus and ensures that learning, not fearing, for when safety is priority on campus. This measure is sponsored by the Office of the City Attorney of Los Angeles and was suggested for statewide law given the incredible results shown locally in the City of Los Angeles after such partnerships were established between the school district and the City Attorney's Office. Just 2 years ago, in 2007, February 2007, the LA City Attorney's Office partnered with the LA Unified School District to place a attorney prosecutor directly on the campus of Markham Middle School, located in the Watts area of South Los Angeles. Markham School is widely considered to be among the most dangerous within LA Unified School District and has been long plagued by crime as well as gang violence, given that the area is surrounded and is home to more than 7 criminal street gangs. After just 1 year of this program without any changes to the teaching or the curriculum, the program improved the school, students, faculty, as well as the surrounding area, and in fact increased student test scores and graduation rates. This model has been used and tried at other schools within LA Unified School District and in fact have had the same conclusive results. With me today is to discuss the program. We have representatives from LA Unified School District. I also believe from the City Attorney's Office. I'm not too sure about that right now, given that we're doing this impromptu. But nonetheless, colleagues, I respectfully ask for your aye vote on AB 1511.
Thank you. Witness, please.
Mr. Chair, members, Edgar Sasueta on behalf of Los Angeles Unified School District. As the Assembly members stated, Markham Middle School has received a lot of notoriety both locally and around the state and around the country as being one of the most dangerous schools, unfortunately. And we feel that this program is responsible for turning that around to a large extent. As Mr. De Leon also noted, this model has been also applied to some of the other schools within the district, and Superintendent Cortines is very supportive of it. And we couldn't have done this by ourselves, and this partnership with the City Attorney's Office has paid great dividends. So we think this is a model that could be applied elsewhere, and we're glad to support the bill. Thank you.
Any other witnesses in favor? Any witnesses against? Now she's coming up. All right.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Valerie Small Navarro with the American Civil Liberties Union. And while we don't dispute that there are school safety issues that need to be addressed, we suggest that this isn't the way to handle them. And as you'll note in your analysis, the first staff comment basically says we have a permissive ed code, and this bill authorizes action that can already be undertaken under existing law. So given this, your staff suggests that you might want to consider whether this bill is necessary or unnecessary. And we're suggesting that it is unnecessary. LA is currently doing this. They can continue to do this. And we think there's a dangerous side to actually putting it in the code, and that is that kids are getting continuously sort of the criminalization of our youth. If you imagine now we have law enforcement officers on campus, now we'd be inviting prosecutors to be on campus, and it's unclear exactly what their role would be. This bill merely states public safety. So I think that's a very broad goal, and quite honestly, prosecutors are not charged with actually enforcing public safety. They're charged with prosecuting crimes. So I suggest this is kind of unnecessary and actually would have a detrimental effect in an area where the prosecutors aren't as committed to these issues. In other counties, it could be actually dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other witnesses against? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the committee. Questions, comments? Senator Wyland.
I want to be on the record as in favor of permissive bills, which have come under a lot of fire in the Senate. But I think it allows authors to make a statement. And I think that's important. And this is obviously a huge, huge issue. I support this bill. I think the issue is so important. First of all, you have a lot of pressure to join gangs, enormous pressure on a lot of kids who don't want to. And if these kids who are gang members or want to do that are on school sites, it just gives them one more venue to pressure these kids. I think also we need to figure out ways of trying to address this earlier on, just the same way we do with reading. I'm not entirely sure how to do that. I mean, one thing might be to involve parents earlier. Another that we used in the district where I was on the board was allow schools to make a choice about uniforms, and a lot of schools chose that. It was the parents. And what it did was it made a more structured environment for a lot of kids who come from families or in environments where there's none. And it was really helpful to those kids. So I think it's one step in that direction, and I think it's a good bill. We ought to support it and try to think of ways to intervene even earlier.
Senator Padilla. Okay, we have a motion. I move the bill. We got a lot of motions here. So this is due pass to public safety. And would you care to close?
I'll take Senator Wyland's eloquent statement as my close, Senator.
Okay. And then I would just add that I seldom agree with the ACLU. I do sort of hear it makes me a little concerned. But having said that, because I do believe it is allowed already under law, but I don't see a danger in the permissive. It might have been a resolution is a better way to say the same thing because it can be done already, but I will support your bill today.
Thank you, Senator.
Please call the roll.
Romero? Huff?
Aye.
Huff, aye. Alquist?
Aye.
Alquist, aye. Hancock? Hancock, aye. Lou? Maldonado? Aye. Maldonado, aye. Padilla?
Aye.
Padilla, aye. Semidian? Wyland?
Aye.
Wyland, aye.
Okay, you have enough votes to get it out. We'll keep that on call for the remaining members that are not here.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, members.
Thank you. And we have Torres, and we just had, and then we just had the Brownlee coming work. She couldn't. All right, Assemblywoman Torres, you're up with two bills. I'm glad to see members coming in to make presentations. And as is our custom, After your presentation, you have 2 witnesses speak in favor, and if there's opposition, the 2 witnesses opposed, and the rest just identify themselves and their affiliation. Okay? Go ahead and
Thank you.
present.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Chair and members. Assembly Bill 339. County offices of education play a vital role in the educational system by helping school districts with students with special needs and students who are at risk of failure in school. AB 339 specifies that county offices of education are included in the definition of school districts for the purpose of allocating and appropriating federal funds. This change will allow county offices of education to apply for funds created for students that they serve. This bill also makes several findings and declarations in regards to the purpose and role of county offices of education and the services they provide for students, staff, school districts, parents, educators, and community members. With me today is Pam Gibbs with the Los Angeles Office of Education to testify on this bill.
Thank you. It's 2 witnesses in support.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Pamela Gibbs for the Los Angeles County Office of Education. First of all, I wanted to thank the Assemblywoman for her leadership on this issue and being supportive of our county offices. I have with me Madeline Hall today, who's a subject matter expert, should you have any questions on the issue. But again, we think this bill is very straightforward, and we urge your aye vote.
Committee members, as you know, the State Department of Education and other state departments administer federal funding and at times compete for federal funding offered to states. The purpose of this bill is to ensure that students served by county offices of education, including adjudicated youth and youth in alternative settings, are not excluded from funding opportunities provided to traditional school districts due to a misinterpretation of federal funding guidelines. Unless county offices of education are prohibited from receiving such funding as a matter of law, this bill would simply ensure that they will receive the same consideration as traditional school districts. In this way, the students served by the County Office of Education would not be excluded from critical academic support opportunities as well as career technical education and other services. And we urge your aye vote. Thank you.
Thank you. If the other witnesses would like to state their name and that they are in support.
Barrett Snyder. Barrett Snyder on behalf of the Santa Clara County Office of Education, the Sonoma County Office of Education in support.
Madam Chair and members, Khadija Alam on behalf of the Advancement Project in support.
Office of Education in support.
Pam Bichilla on behalf of the Alameda County Office of Education and for Susan Stewart on behalf of the Contra Costa County Office of Education in support.
Mike Kilborn on behalf of the Orange County Department of Education, the Humboldt County Office of Education, Sonoma and Inyo County Office of Education in support.
Jeff Freitas with the California Federation of Teachers in support of this bill.
Any other witnesses in favor? Okay, we'll take that motion as is appropriate a little later. Do we have witnesses opposed? Seeing none, questions, comments from the committee? We have a motion. Very good. You're very timely, Senator Maldonado. Would you care to close?
I respectfully ask for your support.
All right. The motion is due pass to appropriations. Okay. Very good.
Thank you.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Romero? Huff?
I am an aye, yes.
Huff, aye. Alquist? Aye. Alquist, aye. Hancock? Hancock, aye. Lou? Maldonado? Maldonado, aye. Padilla? Midian? Wyland?
That bill remains on call, 4-0, and
Thank you.
Other members will, I'm sure, put it over the top. Please present on your next bill. That's AB 769, item 13.
Thank you. Assembly Bill 769 ensures that young children of very high-risk youth will receive priority eligibility for state preschool funding, such as those on probation or in the foster system. This bill adds the children of parents who are or have been within the previous 6 months under the jurisdiction of the delinquency or dependency court to the list of priority enrollment in the state preschool programs. Studies consistently show that early childhood education has a positive impact on pupils' future educational success. This bill will help a hidden population of at-risk children that is currently not being served by the state preschool program. I will accept the clarifying amendments proposed by the committee staff and thank staff for working with my office. Once again, Pam Gibbs from the Los Angeles County Office of Education will testify on this bill.
All right, please go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Chair and members. Thank you again for taking our testimony on this issue. We find that this bill addresses a critical need. As the Assemblywoman stated, we think that it would result in cost savings in the out years, addressing needs of children who are children of foster youth and incarcerated youth. We know that studies show that early learning situations help provide these youth with a stable environment, and we feel that in the future we could save on corrections costs, save on education costs. I also have with me Madeline Hall to answer questions and make a brief statement. She's also with LACO. Thank you, and we urge your support.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members. At no additional cost to the state, this bill gives priority enrollment for open slots only in state preschool to children who are dependents of foster and probation youth. What's very interesting in our research about the need for this bill is that there is no data on the existence or condition of these small children collected by county departments across the state. And furthermore, most of these small children are not in the foster system themselves. And so what we do know about their parent status as wards of the court is that it puts them at these little children at significant risk of developmental delays and social emotional problems that contribute to future school failure. First, they are children of teen parents, and second, their parents' legal status statistically increases the likelihood of criminality and mental health issues as they grow up. This bill ensures that these young children benefit from the academic and social supports provided in state preschool, and their parents and caregivers benefit from the relationships with caring adults able to assess and address developmental and behavior issues as they arise. AB 769 is about prevention and return on investment, and we urge your aye vote today. Thank you.
Okay. Next witness, identify yourself, please.
Khadija Alam on behalf of the Advancement Project. I concur with everything that's been said, and we ask for your support.
Thank you. Next.
Michael Butler, California State PTA, in strong support.
Next witness.
Sandra Vargas on behalf of the California Catholic Conference, in strong support.
Pam Bachilla on behalf of the Alameda County Office of Education, and for Stewart and Associates on behalf of the Contra Costa County Office of Education, in support.
Thank you.
Alan Mack with the Association of California School Administrators, also in support.
Thank you.
Barrett Center on behalf of the Santa Clara County Office of Ed, support.
Bill Collins, California Teacher Association, also urging your support.
Any other witnesses in favor? Witnesses against? Seeing none, bring it back to the committee for questions, comments. Senator Liu.
I'm just curious here. The current law gives priority enrollment to children who are recipients of Child Protective Services. How many children are we talking about in this category that you're trying to address?
That's the problem. The number is unknown, but we do know that some kids do fall through the cracks, and those are the ones that we're trying to address.
And we know we have 200,000 kids already on the list waiting to get in, correct, into state preschool.
Yes, I believe and only a portion of them would be 4-year-olds and then 3-year-olds in terms of the pecking order in state preschool. But yes, so that the truth is, in many parts of the state, once a child reaches age 4, there is competition for 4-year-olds because most of the programs are for 4-year-olds. And so what we're simply trying to do is, knowing that these children do not meet the criteria of abused and neglected themselves, we want to elevate them based on what we know about their outcomes in school.
I'm just, I'm not, opposed to this. I'm just kind of concerned about the setting up a priority system, and then, there's always who's more in need of services, and how do you weigh that? How do you make those judgments? And if we don't know the numbers, then how do we know, who to identify to fill the slots?
We appreciate your question, Senator. It's our understanding that the original intent of the legislation was to include these children. It's out in the field that some of these kids are not being included. Some of them, in fact, may already be on the list because they meet the requirement for being abused or neglected. So we're just trying to address a hidden population of youth that aren't being served. It's a very small number. Even though we can't quantify it, we recognize that it is a very small number.
And you know they're out there.
Yes.
It just, how do you identify?
Well, at this moment, if I might, I did speak to one large urban county representative who is not in Los Angeles in the Human Services Department, and their estimate is that from the probation officers and the foster care workers is that their foster youth and probation youth between the ages of 14 and 21, about 50% of them have dependents. Now, that they're not custodial parents in all cases, so that narrows the number too. So this bill is about custodial parenthood and open slots. So if we can identify those children and we can urge those probation and foster youth to become better parents by enrolling their children, then that's what we're after. I wish we had the numbers, and I think in a better fiscal situation, we should be finding out about those wards of the court and which of them have dependents.
Okay.
And the priority list already exists. This would just include these children.
But you know, the original legislation, as was stated, was already meant to be inclusive of these children.
Yes.
So, you know, we're just overemphasizing the need here. Is that what we're doing?
Senator Torres, may I respond to that?
Yes.
Thank you. These children do not meet, because most of them are not themselves in the foster system, they do not meet the definition of abused and neglected under the law.
Under Child Protective
So we're
Services.
making sure that they are able to, because they're children of wards of the court, they're not necessarily in the foster system themselves.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
You know, I understand the comments that Ms. Liu made. I would move the bill, however. I think it is good to reiterate this, and hopefully it will encourage the referral of children whose the custodial, you know, party, whoever it may be, may not know about state preschool or may not understand the importance of it. So I would hope that that would happen as a result of the bill.
Okay. I would just like to add that I have some. I appreciate the amendments. I think it tightens it up some, but it's still, while it's not going to displace existing children in preschool, it does jump them to the head of the line. And there are a lot of needy children here. Some of these very children are probably in here, as we've heard. But I think it does set a precedent. So we'll have a lot of different needy groups that are coming up with similar legislation to jump them to the head of the line. And so I'm concerned about that. I'm not going to vote for it. I'll lay off. But anyway, just thought I would communicate my concerns with this. We do have a motion, and so would you care to close?
I respectfully ask for your support.
And this is due pass as amended. You'll take those amendments as author's amendments, right?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Please call the roll.
Romero, Huff, Alquist, Hancock, Hancock, aye. Blue, aye. Maldonado, Maldonado, aye. Padilla, Samidian, Samidian, aye. Wyland.
It's 4-0. We'll keep that on call.
Thank you very much. And you have, what a beautiful committee room this is. Thank you.
Yes, welcome to the Senate. Okay, Assemblywoman Brownlee, you have a couple of bills for us today, I believe. Item 11, AB 572.
Yes.
Please present.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. AB 572, I think, is an important bill that would require charter schools to comply with the same conflict of interest policies as school districts do. I believe, actually, this bill is very much a pro-charter bill. And I say that because charter schools, I believe charter schools are good. I believe charter schools are providing solutions in terms of educating children and closing the achievement gap, and we want to support charter schools. And I believe that this is a pro-charter school because it really will do two things. One, it will provide, I believe, the transparency we need in terms of making sure that charter schools are spending the public dollar effectively and efficiently. And two, this bill does not interfere at all in the governance of charter schools, and I want to make that absolutely clear. Some of the members of this committee saw a bill similar to this last year that was introduced by Assemblymember Jean Mullen, and we've made some amendments to that bill, and one particularly is to say that we did not want to interfere at all with the governance structure of charter schools. We believe the governance structure of charter schools is important, that they have the innovation and creativity and experimentation that charter schools need, and so teachers can serve on charter boards. We're not interfering in the governance piece. This has to do absolutely with transparency and would require charter schools to comply with the Brown Act or the Bagley-Keene Act. It would require charter schools to comply with the Public Records Act, the Political Reform Act, and specifies that the members of charter school boards may not be financially interested. That's it. That's what the bill does. I think the only organization that I haven't been able to convince that this is a pro-charter school bill is the Charter School Association, but I want to say that the charter schools already comply with a conflict of interest code. That is true. It's within the corporations code, that is the conflict of interest code is in the corporations code that says that the board of nonprofits can have a 49% interest in the organization. And so what this bill is trying to say is that we don't believe that 49% when you're dealing with public dollars is appropriate, that we believe that the board should comply with the same code of conflict of interest that our public schools do. Charter schools are public schools, and the governing boards have the authority over those public funds. And with that, I have with me today Aaron Stewart, who is the administrator of the University Preparatory Charter School, to testify before you today, and also Brian Rivas from the California School Boards Association.
And I'd just like to remind the witnesses, since you seem to have a long queue here, that two will be speaking, and then the others just identify your name and organization.
Thank
if you're
you.
in support. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak on Assembly Bill 572. I have 27 years of experience as a regular education teacher and 6 years of experience as a charter leader, so I think I see both sides of the issue. I'm also a member of the California Charter Schools Association. We are public schools. You know, we have a guaranteed stream of funding under Proposition 98, and I think with public funds comes public scrutiny, as it should. Nonprofit businesses are accountable to their customers, and so are we, but our customers are the taxpayers. I think that AB 572 presents no threat to charters and has the potential to strengthen the charter movement. Transparency in fiscal and board practices enhances the credibility of the charter school movement. Many people look at charters with suspicion and mistrust and do not understand that we're public schools. It also provides a standard for fiscal and board practices. It prevents practices that lead to fiscal mismanagement and ultimately revocation. Right now, that is the only tool to shut down a charter that is, not stable fiscally. This could prevent that. And as a charter leader, we don't want weak charters out there hurting the reputation of the movement. Also, transparency is essential to gaining the trust of our parents. They don't have to bring their children to our schools, and with that trust comes stable enrollment. All of us start charter schools for a variety of reasons, but you can put it all under the category of providing a meaningful educational alternative that gives students the skills they need after K-12 education. I always ask myself, what's best for kids. Fiscal transparency assures that monies are spent to fulfill the implicit agreement we have with taxpayers to spend these monies to best serve the students. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members, Brian Rivas on behalf of the California School Boards Association. Mr. Chairman, it's very difficult to be objective and self-interested. And unfortunately, we have some charter operators who are trying to do precisely that. In the cases that I've looked at, where charters have gotten themselves into trouble, they've tried to hire themselves, spouses, or direct business to their own companies. And I would just argue that that's just inconsistent with sound business practice. And history shows that people who have done that have gotten themselves into trouble. They've had a hard time balancing the books and paying the bills, and school districts are forced to move to revoke the charter and close down the school. And I want to also point out, I think that AB 572 is a more constructive approach to simply just going to close down a school and revoke the charter. We think it's better to try and prevent the abuses before they happen and avoid the disruption that occurs in a community when you have to investigate allegations of abuse and close a school. It's very disruptive to a community and to students. And also I want to point out that the strength of this bill is it would allow for some intermediate steps and actions to be taken by the Fair Political Practices Commission, because we're applying the Political Reform Act to charters. So when there is evidence of an abuse or an impropriety, the Fair Political Practices Commission could step in and apply fines and penalties. So maybe we can allow the charter to stay in operation if they correct their errors and avoid revocation. So for those reasons, we're in support.
Thank you. Next witness, state your name, please.
Michael Egan on behalf of the California Teachers Association. We're in support of AB 572 and urge your aye vote.
Barrett Snyder on behalf of the San Bernardino, San Diego, and Santa Clara County Office of Education support.
Thank you. The rest of the witnesses, please queue up quickly. Let's get a little assembly line going.
Jeff Freitas with the California Federation of Teachers in support of this bill.
Thank you.
Pam Bachilla on behalf of the Alameda County Office of Education, and for Stewart & Associates on behalf of the Contra Costa County Office of Education and Contra Costa County Superintendents Coalition in support.
That's almost a speech.
Terry Burns on behalf of the St. Helena Unified School District, the Palos Verdes Unified School District, the Saddleback Valley Unified School District, and SANDABS, the San Diego County School Districts Association for Better Schools.
Thank you.
Pamela Gibbs for the Los Angeles County Superintendent of Schools in support.
Thank you.
Patty Scripter, California State PTA, strong support.
Jeanette Tanipatin with Public Advocates in support.
Virginia Strom Martin, Los Angeles Unified School District in strong support.
Mike Kilborn, the Orange County Department of Education in support.
Amy Scribner, Antioch Unified School District and San Francisco Unified School District in support.
Laura Preston with the Association of California School Administrators in support.
Right. Any other witnesses in support? Witnesses against?
Mr. Chair and members, Rand Martin on behalf of the Recalcitrant California Charter Schools Association. First, I would like to say, well, two things. First, we appreciate the fact that Ms. Brownlee has tried to work with us and try to find ways to ameliorate the impact of this bill. I also like to indicate that the objectives that the Assembly member has are not inconsistent with the objectives of the Charter School Association. It's really about how do we get there. You all don't know this because you didn't see it last year, but we did sponsor a bill that former Assembly member Bonnie Garcia carried that did contain conflict of interest provisions, did include the reference to the Brown Act, which we have no trouble with, did not include the Public Records Act last year, but we do have no problem with that as well. What our issues boil down to fundamentally are two. One is 1090, Government Code Section 1090, which we think takes a more draconian approach to dealing with conflict of interest than we're comfortable with. We know that the Assembly member has put language into her bill that basically says employees of charter schools shall not be prohibited from sitting on a charter school board due to the provisions of this section. There are a couple of problems with that. Number one, it does not amend Section 1090, so we feel that there's a tension there, and our attorneys are very concerned about the tension between 1090, which has pretty absolute statements about what you can and cannot do, and another section in another part of the law in the Education Code that basically says, well, that section doesn't apply. If there was going to be a fix there, it probably needs to be a fix to 1090. I'm not suggesting that because we have fundamental problems with 1090 anyway. And we're not sure that even if it was amending 1090, whether when it came down to adjudications under 1090, that the prohibitions under 1090 wouldn't ultimately prevail, even if it was allowed for an employee to sit on the board. Plus, there are other people in the community that are part of the charter community that we want to be part of that governance structure. There are business leaders, community leaders who bring things to the board, who bring things to the school, who could find ways to save the school money, for example. A business leader who could provide a service at a substantially reduced cost to the school, which is a benefit to the school, would not be allowed to sit on that board of directors under 1090, and that is also not addressed. The other big issue that we have has to do with the Political Reform Act. We're particularly concerned with the something you all are familiar with, the Form 700 that would be required, would be imposed upon charter school board members. The charter school boards are nonprofits. They would be singled out among all nonprofits in the state of California having to comply with the Form 700 provision. There are many nonprofits that receive 90+% of their funding from the state, who are stewards of the public trust just like charter schools are, who are not being impacted by similar provisions like this. Nonprofits that run programs for persons with developmental disabilities, that run mental health treatment, that run substance and drug abuse programs, all would be treated we would be treated differently than they are. And you know, there are business people and there are community leaders who we want to sit on our boards of directors who are not as informed about the political process and what the FPPC does, and are a little bit reluctant to put out there all of their financial interest as a nonprofit board member, even though the 700 form is pretty broadly crafted. We're very concerned that if a business leader has a choice of going to sit on that nonprofit that does not require Form 700, and that this nonprofit, our nonprofit, that it does, that they may choose to go elsewhere. Again, we appreciate the Assembly members' efforts on this part, on this issue. We do have the same objectives in mind. We just don't think that this bill is the right way to go about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Any other witnesses against this bill? You are indeed the lone ranger there. All right. Any
Can we
other?
ask Mr. Martin to come back so we can ask him some questions?
Okay, Mr. Martin, come back. You have some questions coming your direction. Go ahead, Senator Smitty.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, on the 1090 question, and it's been a while since I've had occasion to look at the section, but my recollection is that this is the section of the code that prohibits folks from essentially entering into contracts in which they themselves have an interest. Am I remembering this section right?
That's correct.
And you referenced a concern that might pose a problem with respect to even to the Assembly members' willingness to work through the employee may serve on the board issue. And I'm wondering, that piece seems to me to be pretty simple. If the language isn't already there, and I apologize I haven't looked, a simple language saying notwithstanding other provisions of the code, this is allowed. On that point, just to see if we can nibble away at these things, wouldn't that assuage your concerns?
Well, our attorneys have looked at that, and they understand the direction the Assembly member is going, but we're not sure that it ultimately takes care of it. And it's good that this bill is going to Judiciary after it leaves this committee, because I think they're in a good position to look at that question. But from our attorney's perspective, we think that there continues to be a tension, and we don't know how it would be resolved. You have 1090 that basically says if you have this financial interest that you cannot serve on this body, and you have another section, even if it amended 1090, that says that an employee could sit on a charter school board. What's ultimately going to prevail?
And the answer is that if the language were to say notwithstanding any other provision of law, than Ms. Brownlee's specific reference to any other provision of law as the statute passed later in date. I know you know this because you used to do this kind of work. As the statute passed later in date, clearly then means that someone would be allowed to serve without violating another provision. So on that point, I think there's a pretty clear language fix if it's not already there in the bill. I want to go on to the political reform questions that you raised, though, and I think these are public funds for public schools. You're not making the argument that the charter is a private school.
Correct.
Okay. So the question then is, if the public funds are going to be spent, and given the facilities and the operating expenses and the growth in charters, which I happen to think is a healthy thing, then we're talking about billions of public funds being spent without any of the basic protections that we have in terms of conflict of interest and access to public records. And you attempted to make the distinction that somehow these are because these are nonprofits, somehow they shouldn't be covered. These are folks who are doing the public's work with public funds pursuant to public law. And I think, you know, as much as it may be an inconvenience for any or all of us to fill out our forms and to have that kind of transparency, we're really hard pressed to say that we shouldn't have that for our other public schools, which is in fact what our charter schools are. I frankly am disheartened by the fact that people too often see our quote regular school districts and our charter schools as being like this when they should be like this, but they're part of our public school system. And while I am a big supporter of the flexibility that allows them to be educational leaders and game changers and think all of that's to the good, suggesting that the public record should not be available to members of the public so that people can tell what's going on, or that we should sort of simply look the other way on a conflict of interest issue, that's just not something I can support. So I think, Ms. Brownlee, if I could take your open and just say, I think there really are two compelling points that the author has made here. Number one, public funds need to be treated with the same level of protection, whether it is in the charter school context or the regular public school context a block away. And number two, you're doing yourself a disservice given this tension around charter schools around the state and the fact that there are some widely known abuses, which are fortunately the minority. I'd like to see, I'm with the author on this. I think this is the kind of thing we need to sort of get everybody to calm down and just realize this is another great way we can provide a diversity of offerings to 6 million unique kids. And if we resist that at every turn, then we can't be surprised that people are going to put up barriers. So I hope the day comes when enlightened self-interest will lead you to be a big advocate for these kinds of bills. But until that time comes, I'm a supporter of the bill and think both on, I think the technical issues are clearly resolvable. I think it's hard to argue that we shouldn't have provisions that protect public funds and the public's right to know. And then, as I said, I just think ultimately it's really in your own best interest if we're ever going to build the level of support around the state that we'd like to see for these very exciting ways of doing business.
Mr. Chair, if I may. I realize that was a statement and there was not a question there, but I do want to correct a couple of things. Number one, we are totally in support of language that provides conflict of interest in statute for charter schools. So we totally agree with you in terms of that point. The other thing, in terms of the Form 700, we're not opposed to public records being made available and being very transparent. And our concern about Form 700 is not about violate or restricting people's access to the public records of the charter school. The Public Records Act that is in the bill, we totally support that. That is totally fine with us. Our only concern is that you're treating charter board members differently than you're treating the board members of a substance abuse nonprofit that's also receiving all of its funds.
The reason for that is that that money got sent to that nonprofit as a result of a discretionary decision by a governmental body that was subject to those conflict of interest and disclosure provisions. That is different than the mandatory, no choice allocation of funds from a public school district to a charter provider, where the charter provider then, with tremendous flexibility, which is one of the benefits of our charter effort, makes judgments about how billions now, not millions anymore, of public dollars will be spent. So I think the analogy, as much as I understand why you're trying to make it, is not an apt one. In the final analysis, these folks are sitting in lieu of the publicly elected school board members, but are not asked to provide the same level of public information or protection on conflict of interest. I'm sure that when, and rare that we can speak for each other, but I'm sure that when my friend Senator Ahlquist and I both signed on to our respective school boards back in 1983, neither one of us, who thought we were just going to do good stuff for kids, was feeling all that excited about the fact that we had to fill out the Form 700s. But we understood that if we were going to be spending the public's money, that we had to disclose our interests so that the public could feel sure there was no conflict. That is all that is being asked in this instance, that the people who are going to make the decision about how to spend the public's money on the public schools for the public school kids do the same.
Okay, Senator Ahlquist.
Senator Simitian, you spoke eloquently, and I will be very brief. And what you said about what I think was absolutely right on point. And so just to be very brief, as someone who co-authored much of the original charter school legislation and then saw some problems first with the financial piece, and we worked on trying to put some fiscal constraints in place, now we have another piece. I mean, I really think if someone's who wants to be on a charter school board is not willing to fill out a 700 form, they shouldn't be on that board. And I would hope that you would be working with Assemblywoman Brownlee on this, because she is really trying to be of help to you so that there are no issues out there left that people can really say, oh, look at what the charter schools are really doing on this. They get all this public dollars, and yet they're skirting some issues. And I don't think you're wanting to do that. And so if there's a way that you can work together, I think it would be very, very helpful. And I'm quite supportive of this bill.
Senator Liu, did you have any comments? Or okay, we have a motion. Let me just say one thing, and I'll let you close. I share actually many of the concerns that my Democrat colleagues have brought up. My biggest concern with this is the wholesale changes so quickly that these charters could be, every charter school would be out of compliance immediately, and they may or may not have surviving board members after they decide they don't want to go through that process. I'm sure all of you remember the first time you had to look at a 700 form or 1090, you know, oh my goodness, I got to do this. And it's, you know, you're just turning your whole financial life inside out. And some people are just unwilling to do that, so that hasn't been the ground rules that have been in place, and yet it would immediately go into effect, and charters could be revoked because of that. You're either in compliance with the contract or the charter, or you're not. And so that's my principal concern, and maybe there's a way to work with that and soften the impact or delay the implementation or something to give them a time for an orderly, you know, transition. But I'm not going to support your bill today, but I do think there should be transparency and openness for those reasons, that they are public dollars and they should be accounted for. So anyway, this motion is due pass to judiciary, I believe.
That's correct.
Okay. Please call the roll. Oh, did you want to close? I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate your comments and would actually offer to continue to work on that to make sure that there, if the bill did become law, that there would be a smooth transition around that issue. And I just want to say, too, that I will continue to work, I have been and will continue to work with Charter School Association and Mr. Martin to figure out this issue on the 1090 and the employer issue. I think we have ways in which to accomplish that, and I think Mr. Simitian couldn't have described the situation any better. And with regards as well to the other nonprofits, in the Form 700, I just want to be clear, and I think Mr. Simidian made it very clear, is that other nonprofits will be providing services, and government might decide to allocate money one year and not on another. This is Prop 98, continuous funding going to public schools, of which we have an obligation to educate all children. And this is about making decisions about that money. So I think this is an important piece of the bill. And I also, too, just want to point out, too, that the Ms. Garcia's, Assemblymember Garcia's bill was referenced, and in that particular bill, it did include this conflict of interest issue at 49% of the interest of the board. 49% of the board could have a financial interest. So just in closing, I just want to say again, I want to reiterate that I do think that this is a pro-charter bill that will clear the path. We know that most charter schools are good and are providing a very good quality education for our children. We also know, and there are perceptions out there that are a few who are mismanaging, and I think this bill would provide the tool to shake some of those bad players out and clear the path for actually more charter schools to do the good things that they're doing. And with that, I respectfully ask the committee for an aye vote.
Romero, Huff. Alquist. Alquist, aye. Hancock. Hancock, aye. Blue. Blue, aye. Maldonado. Maldonado, aye. Padilla. Simidian.
Aye.
Simidian, aye. Wyland. We have enough votes.
Okay, that's enough votes to get it out. It'll remain on call for now.
Thank you.
And then you have AB 947 next. Is that the one you
Yes.
wish to take up? Okay, please present.
Thank you. AB 947 addresses, please come up, addresses an inequity in student fees for the California community colleges. Currently, resident and foreign students pay a capital fee. Residents pay that capital fee through their taxes. Foreign students pay that fee through a direct fee. Non-resident students, students of the United States but live in another state who have moved to California and are not California residents yet, do not pay the fee. So the capital fee is used by the community colleges for maintenance and construction of facilities. And this bill would just simply authorize a community college district to charge the additional fee to any non-resident student. So this bill, again, just simply provides that option to community colleges, and perhaps in our fiscal arena may offset some general fund dollars for other uses within the community colleges. And I have here with me Louise Jaffe, who is a board member or president?
Chair.
Chair of the Santa Monica Community College Board of Trustees, to testify.
Thank you, Louise Jaffe, Chair of the Santa Monica College Board of Trustees, here on behalf of Santa Monica College to support AB 947. As Assemblymember Brownlee said, this bill corrects an existing inequity in the code. Currently, community college districts may charge a capital surcharge fee to students who are both citizens and residents of a foreign country. The basis for that is that state and local taxpayers support our facilities through taxes and bonds, and that since non-resident international students use these facilities, they too should be able to be charged a user fee. The very same logic applies to out-of-state non-resident students who currently are not contributing at all to facilities which they do use. The fee would be optional. The amount of the fee would be capped. There are formulas that protect the amount that could be charged. And the revenue from the fees would be required to be expended only for capital outlay, maintenance, and equipment purposes. So we believe that this will correct an existing inequity, that it provides an appropriate and equitable means for districts who wish to charge a user fee to out-of-state students to support facility maintenance
and we thank you and Assembly Brownlee for support of this.
Thank you. Next witness.
Yes, Madam Chair and Committee, Bonnie Slauson representing the Community College League, and we are too also in support of this measure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy Scribner on behalf of Long Beach City College, and for the reasons stated, we also support the bill.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? Witnesses in opposition? Questions or comments from the committee? Senator Hancock?
Move the bill.
Okay, the bill's Senator Huff.
If I have a question of the author. So what is to keep a non-resident, say from Ohio, to come in and just say that, not declare that where they're from, and to basically just try to qualify as a non-resident illegal alien? Let's say they're from another country, but they're from Ohio or whatever.
They're from some other country or from Ohio?
If they're from some other country and they've been in Ohio, you know, and they come here, I'm just trying to get a circuitous route as opposed to some of this grown up here in California, and because we do, and I recognize I'm treading on politically sensitive issues, but we allow free education or to illegal residents. So if you have somebody else, why would they declare that they are here legally if they're not?
Well, I can't address the illegal residence issue, but, you know, there are three categories of students: the residents, the foreign students, and then the non-residents. And it's my understanding that it takes 2 years to claim residency in the state of California if you've moved from one state to another.
I'm not, do you know, Bonnie? I think it may be 1 year.
1 year.
It takes 1 year.
Okay. So if they live here 1 year and document that, then they don't have to pay this capital outlay. They would be considered.
Correct. Once they became a California resident, then they ostensibly pay that through their taxes.
But if they're undocumented, then they wouldn't have to pay it either.
Well, they would probably fall in the category of foreign students.
If they're undocumented from another state?
Right.
Anyone from another state
Okay.
doesn't have to pay the fee right now.
Because AB 540 students are those who have graduated from a California high school.
Okay.
Right.
And attended for 3 years.
And they
Yeah.
would not pay the fee.
I know anecdotally of foreigners that come in and are legal, but they won't declare they're legal, and they will, you know, just to not have to pay the tuition and stuff that foreign students do. You know, I don't know that factually, it's anecdotally, but we have a very interesting system here that is easy to game. And part of my concern on your measure is how do you, because you have the hardship, you know, they're exempt from that also, but how does a student prove they're victims of economic hardship or persecution?
Louise, do you know the answer to that?
And how, I'm sorry.
How they determine their hardship?
I don't know the answer to that.
If you don't know the answer now, we won't know the answer when somebody's demonstrating that.
The issue here is that these students are currently not charged, that these are the only students, other than the AB 540 students, who attend our schools who are not paying any facility fees. And so all of our residents in California are paying for these facilities, and certainly locally, where we're passing bonds, and a great many community college districts passed bonds recently, our taxpayers are paying. What we're doing is creating a special class for out-of-state students who come to California. They're paying an out-of-state resident fee, but there's no mechanism for us to have them contribute to the facilities fee. So this is a correction so that they will be able to charge them to support the facilities, which obviously they use if they come here to
Well, I understand that,
school.
but the measure states, any, quote, any student who can demonstrate economic hardship or is a victim of persecution or discrimination in the country in which the student is a citizen and resident is exempt from this fee. So how do they demonstrate that?
Well, my staff is indicating that there is, I guess, a procedure with establishing hardship as it relates to tuition and other kinds of fees, and the same process by which they determine that hardship would apply in this particular case, too.
And that's the same criterion then?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Senator Huff, that is existing law with respect to the demonstration of financial hardship. And then just one point of clarification, AB 540 students right now do pay that fee on capital facilities. So they do pay, contrary to what was stated at the table.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? The bill has been moved. Assemblymember Brownlee, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just to address Mr. Huff's first concern, is, this bill isn't about sort of the policing. This is a bill about just providing a tool for community colleges. And so they can actually use the tool or not use the tool. But this bill is not designed to sort of address some of those issues I think that you've raised. And I think that this is a good bill and, again, provides a tool for community colleges and could offset some general fund money for purposes of educating children, or young people, I should say. And with that, I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
All right, thank you. Secretary, call the roll.
Romero?
Aye.
Romero, aye. Huff? Huff, no. Alquist? Alquist, aye. Hancock?
Aye.
Hancock, aye. Flu? Flu, aye. Maldonado? Maldonado, aye. Padilla? Semidian? Semidian, aye. Wyland?
It's 6-1. 6-1. We will keep that measure on call.
Thank you,
All right, your final item is file item 17.
Thank you, Madam Chair. AB 1182 is a bill that I would like to refer to it as a cleanup bill. But currently, higher education segments are required collectively to provide an average of 115 reports each year to the legislature. Some of these reports have either become obsolete or duplicative. Others do not provide any clear direction as to the content of the report. AB 1182 provides clear direction to our higher education segments regarding their reporting requirements to the legislature. This bill makes the content and due dates of the reports relevant and eliminates any duplicity or irrelevance in the reports. Additionally, AB 1182 saves the segments money by allowing them to report in an electronic fashion. AB 1182 is the result of weekly meetings for the entire last session to vet really all of these reports when I chaired the budget subcommittee on education, finance, education, the subcommittee 2. The segments, the California CPAC, the LAO, the Department of Finance, the Assembly Higher Education Committee, and Senate Ed staff and their Republican counterparts were all involved in the consensus building of this measure. This bill has received no votes and has received bipartisan support, and I respectfully ask for your support of this measure.
Okay, witnesses in support.
Good morning, Chair Romero and members. Julia Blair with the Post-Secondary Education Commission. The Commission is pleased to support AB 1182. This bill will provide for more effective and transparent reporting by the segments by forming reporting requirements and eliminating some lower priority reports. The bill also authorizes the electronic submission of reports. Last year, the Commission worked with a study group convened to reform segmental reports, and this bill includes many of the agreements reached by that group. This bill will help reduce reporting-related costs for the systems, freeing up their resources to pursue their primary educational missions. The Commission appreciates Ms. Brownlee's continued efforts to reform statutory reporting and asks for your support of this bill.
Any other witnesses in support? We did not receive opposition. Is there any? Questions, comments? Senator Semidian?
Ms. Brownlee, support the bill. Good for you. I had the pleasure of chairing Sub 2 for 4 years in an earlier day and time. Fair enough that we're going to reduce the number of reports. I think the expectation then should be that the reports that are required are filed on a timely basis. So would you please take this opportunity to spread the word throughout the education community that the trade-off, if there is one, for a reduction in the number of reports is that people who have obligations to get their reports filed to the legislature or in other venues on a timely basis so that decisions can be made here need to do that now. That this was a chronic source of difficulty during the 4 years I served in that role. I'm guessing that that the problem hadn't gone away by the time you stepped into that role. And again, as I said, fair enough. Let's try not to ask for meaningless paperwork, take up time and energy with things that really don't help produce a better result. But then the expectation should be that people will deliver on time.
Thank you, Senator. I will indeed.
Forgive that finger-wagging chastisement through you, but it was.
And share that similar frustration. Yeah. So I understand.
Absolutely, and I concur. Other comments? Is there a motion on this measure?
I would move the bill. Senator Romero, I just also wanted to say, good example at exactly the right time of streamlining government, and I appreciate the amount of work that inevitably goes into a bill like this. And if there is an opportunity, I'd like to be added as a co-author.
Thank you, Ms. Hancock.
All right. Briefly, Assemblymember Brownlee, you may close. We're ready to vote.
I just want to respectfully ask for your aye vote. I think all's been said. Thank you.
Thank you. Secretary, call the roll.
Romero?
Aye.
Romero, aye. Huff?
Aye.
Huff, aye. Alquist? Alquist?
Aye.
Alquist, aye. Hancock?
Aye.
Hancock, aye. Lou? Lou, aye. Maldonado? Maldonado, aye. Padilla? Semidian? Semidian, aye. Wyland? 7.
7 votes. The measure will remain on call. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Assemblyman Mendoza. Okay, welcome. You have 2 measures on file. Let's begin with file item 5.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I'm here to present AB 132, which is intended to offer some guidance to public schools in keeping classroom instruction as normal as possible with agents enforce federal immigration laws. Instruction and school attendance suffers when immigration enforcement occurs at a work site or home. The children become afraid and either they stay home or away from school, or come to school too rattled by seeing their parents detained. The other kids quickly learn what has happened, and fear spreads. Most of the affected children are U.S. citizens. AB 132 provides procedures for schools to follow when parents cannot pick up their children after school. It also prohibits the collection of citizenship status information, which is not needed, and encourages schools to provide counseling to affected students so instruction and learning can resume. We all have our opinions on immigration, but I hope, regardless of yours, we can all agree that our society benefits when the education of our children continues uninterrupted. And, Madam Chair, I have witnesses here in support.
Okay, thank you. And let me just indicate to the members that this bill will also go before the Senate Judiciary Committee, at which time they will take up the appropriate questions related to the bill that deal with questions of due process and privacy. The issues before the Education Committee and Assemblyman Mendoza, I appreciate the commentary with respect to issues pertaining to immigration. I think ultimately what we want to do here in this Education Committee is to think about the potential interference with respect to the education of students by immigration agents, what type of policy we would want to establish here in the state of California, and also with respect to parental activities, to counseling activities in relation to pupils that might be affected by immigration enforcement activities. So my hope would be that we can ground ourselves on these questions with respect to education policy. Judiciary, should the bill move out of this committee, will deal with due process and privacy issues. Having said that, welcome. Let's hear from the supporters on the measure.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members, and that was a very helpful overview. I'm Bill Collins, representing the California Teacher Association. Our members came to us and said it's very difficult to maintain a normal school day in the aftermath of an immigration enforcement activity in the community. The kids are either afraid to come to school, or if they do, they're so upset over what's happened, as you can understand, that you just can't have there's no learning taking place. So we've talked to people in the school community about what is helpful, and of course what can we really do as a state, because the federal government has the authority to enforce federal laws, and there's nothing we can do here as a legislature that is going to affect that, nor are we attempting to do so. This bill has 4 sections. 2 of them are permissive because we didn't want to impose mandates on our schools. One of them basically urges the schools to talk to the kids about what's happened. What we're hearing is if you ignore what's happened, it doesn't just go away. And there's some kids who aren't coming to school. You need to talk to them and let them know it's safe to come to school. You're not going to be taken away if you come to school. And also, We've had situations where after school, nobody comes and picks up the kid because the parents have been detained, and the schools, in some cases, don't have contact information beyond the parents. So without mandating this, we're urging schools, this is not mandated in the Ed Code under current laws, but although many schools do this, is they need to have that contact information so that they can go through the list and find a responsible adult who can care for the child. The bill also declares state policy that immigration raids should not interfere with a student's education. There are some school districts that have adopted these policies on their own. Again, they're not binding. We'd like a statewide policy that says this is the policy of the state. And this is, by the way, the current policy of the federal government, not to conduct these immigration enforcement activities on school grounds. That's subject to change, obviously, but we are glad that it is the current federal policy. The last provision, and the fourth, is we consider the most important, and it basically prohibits districts from collecting or asking about a student's immigration status. You can't treat the children differently based on their immigration status anyway, so why even ask this information? We hear a few instances, not often we hope, where a school employee has asked this of a parent with an intent to intimidate the parent so as to not assert some of their rights. So districts are sometimes tell you they're required to collect too much information, too much reporting. Here's an instance where there's no need to collect because you can't do anything with that data. So we'd like to prohibit that. And finally, I just want to conclude with a quote from a school principal who was our witness in prior committee, couldn't be here today because it's near the end of school and she was very busy, but and this was her school in Santa Fe. Just a very quick quote, if I could. This is in the aftermath of a raid in Santa Fe. She says, on a day when we were scheduled to administer the state exams, 40 students were absent. This is in an elementary school. 7 times the normal absentee rate. Throughout the day, muted and trembling voices asked teachers if agents would come to school and take them away, what would happen to their mommy or daddy or aunt or uncle, and what would happen to them. So ask yourselves, are those children learning on a day like that? So we think there are things that schools need to do within the confines of law, and we think that this bill will provide a bit of guidance for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next witness.
Good morning, Matt. Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Vanessa Kahina, and I'm the statewide policy analyst for the California Immigrant Policy Center. We're here this morning to voice our strong support for AB 132, which would ensure that schools remain a safe place for all children to learn and protects vulnerable children from the traumatic experiences associated with immigration investigations. I'd like to focus on the human aspect of investigations, children, and how schools become involved. Even though current immigrations and customs enforcement policy makes it clear that investigations should not occur on school grounds, many schools must deal with the terrible traumas experienced by young children who see their parents interrogated, taken away by authorities, with no knowledge as to when they might see their mother or father again. In San Rafael in May a year ago, a father walking his second-grade daughter to school was stopped by immigration authorities who made his little girl translate for her father before they detained her father in ICE custody. This little girl went to school that day. Imagine what her day was like. She cannot learn when she has seen something like that happen. AB 132 simply encourages schools to take the appropriate steps to ensure that students are appropriately cared for and receive counseling when their lives are disrupted by federal enforcement activities. Schools must be a safe place for all children, regardless of where they or their parents are from. AB 132 clarifies existing federal laws which have been ignored in some cases, and also gives schools guidance for helping children who are confronted with this terrible trauma. For these reasons, CIPC supports AB 132 and respectfully asks for your aye vote.
Thank you. Next witness.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Sandra Vargas on behalf of the California Catholic Conference, also in strong support.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? Is there opposition? Please step forward. Okay, if we can go ahead and allow for the opposition to speak. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I'm in support. Albert Parnell with the Hispanic Association of Colleges and University, and we're in support of this bill.
Thank you.
Amy Scribner on behalf of San Francisco Unified School District, and we're also in support.
Thank you. Any others in support? Okay, witnesses in opposition? Questions or comments from the committee? Senator Simitian?
There was reference to what...
Excuse me, I'm going to say, I hear chatter in the front row. I'm going to ask I'm hearing your conversation against yours. I'm going to please ask if you can take conversations outside of the room. Either that or I just have very good hearing. I don't know what it is today, but I can hear the chatter taking place in the first row. Sorry, Senator Simitian?
Thank you. There was reference made to what is or isn't allowed under current law with respect to federal law. What does federal law say about California's obligation to provide instruction to students who are in the state, even if they are undocumented?
My understanding, Senator, is that under case law from, I believe it was 1986, the Plyer decision, that the students are entitled to free and equal public education regardless of their citizenship status while in the United States.
Right. And so your argument and the argument that the Assembly member is advancing on behalf of the bill is, that being the case, then let's focus on our obligation under federal law and make sure that we don't allow other actions to interfere with the carrying out of our obligation. Is that the
Yes, with the understanding, of course, that the federal government also has the responsibility to enforce federal immigration law, and so we're trying not to bump against that.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Other questions? Is there a motion on the bill? This would be a motion due pass to judiciary.
I move the bill to judiciary.
Okay, it's been moved. Assemblyman Mendoza, you may close.
Madam Chair, just respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you. Secretary, call the roll.
Romero?
Aye.
Romero, aye. Huff?
No.
Huff, no. Alquist?
Aye.
Alquist, aye. Hancock? Hancock, aye. Lou? Lou, aye. Maldonado? Padilla? Simitian? Simitian, aye. Wyland?
Okay, that has 5-1. We are going to keep it on call till the end of committee. You have a second measure, file item 6.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I'm here to present AB 146. As a parent and former school teacher and as a consumer, this bill addresses some of the problems with curriculum delivery to our schools. There are several school districts where teaching materials, including textbooks, have failed to be delivered to school on time. This leaves students without the resources needed to begin their learning experience. The publishers and I have worked together to address this issue. We have agreed to put into code the language previously contained in the California Department of Education's Title V regulation, which deals with the publishers or manufacturers' failure to deliver materials within 60 days. I am accepting the suggested amendment on page 2 of the analysis to hold publishers harmless for delays caused by the adopting agency. Last year, this bill received bipartisan support and left this committee with an 8-0 vote. I received the governor's generic veto, so I'm bringing it back again.
Thank you. Witnesses in support? Witnesses in opposition? Questions or comments from the committee? Senator Huff?
Yes, Member, I supported your bill last year, but it did get vetoed. So what, we just going through the same drill again to get vetoed?
It received a generic veto message, and, the governor said that they didn't have time because he was dealing with the budget. And
actually, what I'm reading is, while I'm supportive of efforts to ensure that school districts have instructional materials available for their students on a timely basis, this bill is unnecessary. Districts may enter into contractual agreements with publishers and can negotiate any level of penalty based on a variety of contract terms, even without statutory mandate. That doesn't sound like it was caught up in the rest of those.
Well, okay, then let me, hearing his objections, again, this was negotiated with the publishers, so it's not like the publishers, when we talked about that, they have no problem with this. They encourage this, and that's why we worked out any differences that we have.
Have you had any conversations with the governor's office?
On this particular bill, we haven't, and not with it. We did amend it a little bit more, where we had the adopted agency, because sometimes the state adopted agency takes a little bit longer and might delay the delivery. And maybe after we discuss it with him, maybe that might help a little bit with his concerns. But again, we don't see the need, I think, to delay it any further, especially when we have support and no opposition from.
Well, evidently you do have opposition. I'm looking now at a letter dated April 27th to you and copied to the different committees and whatever that says there's a long thing, but it basically says that the Office of Secretary of Education is taking a position of oppose, and that's the chief spokesman for the governor.
Yeah, I was appointed.
So anyway, I'm good reason what.
He said that'll be used as a reason to get rid of the office, so be careful.
Yeah, oh, there you go. Yeah, I agree with where you're going with this, but, you know, I kind of struggle when we just keep bringing the same bill back and receiving the same opposition and not working out, you know, all the way through the system. And so I'm not going to support your bill today.
I appreciate it, Mr. Huff, and I will assure you that I will have talks with the governor's office to ensure that it was not related to the budget. In addition, there are schools in my district who have fallen in this situation, and their materials were not delivered for 11 months, and the kids were waiting for these materials, and their only excuse was like, well, you know, we're not, their regulations, they're not in code, so we're not really liable, and we're not really responsible for that. So that I think that this bill is very necessary for our schools, and I assure you that I will be speaking to the governor's office to make sure that we are.
And let me underscore, I mean, I will support the bill, although I would encourage you to continue having conversations with the governor's office on this matter. I think this, and while it may not be quote-unquote necessary, I think it does underscore and make reference to legal settlements. For example, the Williams settlement, where it becomes a hardship on one case to have a settlement the state has negotiated and yet continue to see the delay of instructional materials. So I think that there are some real implications in having the publishers and districts live up to the good faith with respect to settlements that we've entered into. Having said that, there is a number of, we did receive a number of letters in support of this measure. You do continue to have to discuss this with the governor's office. I would encourage you to do so. This bill, though, I would recommend a do pass with the amendments that you've accepted, and I will support the bill. Is there a motion on the bill as amended? Move the bill as amended. Secretary, call the roll.
Romero?
Aye.
Romero, aye. Huff? Huff, no. Alquist? Alquist, aye. Hancock? Hancock, aye. Lou? Maldonado? Padilla? Semidian? Aye. Semidian, aye. Wyland?
4-1. 4-1. The measure will remain on call.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair.
Thank you. Assemblyman Fuentes.
It's number 9.
Okay, welcome. You have file item 9.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members. This bill is a reintroduction of a bill last year, and having heard the conversation a second ago, I would point out that your analysis correctly, thank you, points out that this did get a general veto message. And just to refresh your memory, this bill would authorize school districts that maintain high schools to expand the definition of work experience to include work-based learning, and would define work-based learning to mean an educational approach or instructional methodology that uses the workplace or real work to provide pupils the knowledge and skills that help them connect school experiences to real-life work activities and future career opportunities. This bill supports the expansion of programs such as work experience, regional occupational centers and programs, community classrooms, partnership academies, and job shadowing experience to include work-based learning opportunities for pupils. And in fact, today I'm joined by Ms. Caroline Huang, who is a LegiSchool participant. It's an internship program that's put on by the California Center for Studies. And what we would like to do is promote this type of program, or rather definition change, so that school districts can employ similar programs so that our young people benefit from the experience that is real, and in this case couldn't get much more real than this place these days. So that being said, I would respectfully ask for your support, and hopefully it passes the Huff test in that this is a bill I think that merits your favorable consideration.
All right. Thank you. Let's hear from witnesses in support.
Hi, good morning. My name is Alejandra Velasquez, and I'm here on behalf of the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce, the sponsor of this bill. And we just think that it's a very, very simple bill, that all it does is clarify the definition of what work-based learning is, so that it encourages and allows businesses and school districts, local education agencies to work together to make this happen. And we can start working on programs that really engage our students and really prepare them for post-secondary opportunities, including the workforce.
Thank you. Other witnesses?
Madam Chair, Jeff Frost, representing the California Council for Adult Education. We're in support of the bill, I've also been asked on behalf of Erica Hoffman to indicate that the California School Boards Association is also in support.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support?
Madam Chair and members, Virginia Straw Martin on behalf of Los Angeles Unified School District. We have many of these programs, and we are in strong support of this.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support? And while the witnesses are stepping forward, let me just ask the author, why the urgency?
That's a great question. We're trying to get this passed so that the following school year could take advantage of this type of situation. And I think the question that hasn't been asked, and I forgot to mention, why change the definition? And its simple answer is that the school districts need the flexibility and, more importantly, the definition change so that they can take care of liability issues. I mean, this is about making sure that the school districts have the ability to ensure those folks who are off campus taking advantage of programs like this. And so that's really the necessity and the urgency.
All right, thank you. Other witnesses?
Amy Scribner on behalf of San Francisco Unified School District, and we support the bill. We feel like it's an important activity to connect school-based activities to workplace and real life.
Thank you.
Patricia Rucker, California Teachers Association. We supported the bill last year, and we are in strong support of the bill again.
Thank you. Any other witnesses? Witnesses in opposition? Questions or comments from the committee? Senator Huff?
Just to clarify, it does pass the Huff test. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
All right. Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
All right. That's a motion. You may close.
I think I've said enough about the bill. I ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Secretary, call the roll.
Romero?
Aye.
Romero, aye. Huff?
Aye.
Huff, aye. Alquist? Alquist, aye. Hancock? Blue? Hancock, aye. Blue? Blue, aye. Maldonado? Padilla? Semidian? Semidian, aye. Wyland? It's 6-0.
6-0. We will keep the measure on call.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Assemblywoman Skinner,
Item 19.
you have file item 19. Welcome.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you very much. I'm presenting on Assembly Bill 1393, and what 1393 does is provide priority for foster youth who are in college to be able to have access to the housing that the college provides. And I want to start by thanking the committee staff for their hard work on their bill, on this bill, and I've accepted their recommended amendments. And I'd also like to thank UC, the system, for engaging my staff on the bill and helping us improve its effectiveness on the UC campuses. And just again to summarize, it would require all of California's public post-secondary education campuses that maintain student housing to give housing priority to current and former foster youth. And it also would have campuses that have their housing open during breaks or on a year-round basis to provide that housing to the foster youth. Because, as you know, one of the issues is if you don't have a home to go to and there is a break or there is a long summer recess, it can affect the youth's ability to continue their college career. I have with me today Chantel Johnson, the Policy Director for California Youth Connection, who is the bill's sponsor.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Again, my name is Chantal Johnson, and I'm representing California Youth Connection, which is a statewide nonprofit made up of current and former foster youth that are involved in policy development and legislative change. This bill was identified as our members last August at our summer policy conference. Our youth face significant barriers towards receiving their degree because of the lack of year-round housing. As you know, it's next to impossible to get an apartment for just a week for summer break or even 3 months over the summer break. We believe that this will take strides to alleviate some of these things, and also some of the CSUs that have already experienced and done these year-round housing programs for foster youth have seen an increase of the retention because foster youth are more involved on campus and also make it to their classes. So thank you.
Thank you. Next witness.
Madam Chair and committee members, Bonnie Slauson representing the Community College League, and we are in support. And I think our last witness testified very clearly about the need for housing for emancipated youth and the success for students in our colleges. Thank you.
Thank you. Next witness.
Michael Butler, California State PTA, in strong support.
Thank you.
Members of the committee, Michael McGee from Community College Chancellor's Office, and we are in support of this measure.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support?
Yes, Lillian Clark on behalf of National Association of Social Workers in support.
Thank you. We did not receive opposition to this measure. Is there any? Questions or comments from committee members? Is there a motion on the bill to do pass as amended? Okay, moved by Senator Hancock. You may close.
I think that the issue and what the bill is trying to address is clear, so I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Secretary, call the roll.
Romero?
Aye.
Romero, aye. Huff? Huff, aye. Alquist? Hancock?
Aye.
Hancock, aye. Liu? Liu, aye. Maldonado? Padilla? Semidian?
Aye.
Semidian, aye. Wyland? 5-0.
5-0. We'll keep the measure on call.
Thank you so much.
That's the last one.
Okay, our final presenter today is Assemblymember Hill. This is file item 20. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And members, I want to start off by accepting the committee amendments on page 3 of the analysis. AB 1455 codifies San Mateo Community College District's successful pilot program and allows them to partner with CSU San Francisco to offer limited baccalaureate programs on all of their campuses. San Mateo Community College District has a track record of delivering high-quality baccalaureate programs for the past 6 years in partnership with San Francisco State University and Cal State East Bay through the University Center at Cañada College campus. In 2001, the University Center was created with funding from the state, which allowed San Mateo to partner with CSUs to offer specific 4-year degree programs. San Mateo County is the second largest county in California without a CSU or UC. AB 1455 will help San Mateo meet the demand for local residents who want to pursue higher education. With me to testify is Jim Gross and Alan Fernandez on behalf of San Mateo Community College District. Thank you, Madam Chair. I request your aye vote, please.
Thank you. Witnesses in support?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, Jim Gross on behalf of the San Mateo County Community College District. As Mr. Hill stated, we have had a successful collaboration with San Francisco State. We wish to continue that. We think this legislation will also help us focus on obtaining federal dollars because of the recent stimulus package availability. We think that the legislature's action to show that they wish to codify this and to allow not only our community college, but potentially others to do this, will in fact show the commitment that the federal government will be looking for with respect to these opportunities, and we ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? I like this bill. Senator Dede Alpert is the one who had first spoken to me about this measure. I think it does enhance and create access. We had the question originally, do we really need this? But I think it does send a very strong message as far as the cooperation and the opportunities to provide for greater access, particularly for students who may have a difficult time trying to access the main campus. So I like the concept, and I think it's innovative. And I look forward to hopefully this getting a signature from the governor. We did not receive opposition. Is there any in the room? Senator Semidian.
Madam Chair, do I understand that the authors agreed to take amendments here in committee? And if so, would it be possible, if the authors agreeable, for me to be added as a co-author at that time?
Absolutely. And I've requested to be a co-author as well.
If the author is willing. And let me just add to the statement. San Mateo County is I remember this going back to former Assembly Member Migden's work on this issue several years ago. San Mateo County is an interesting place in that it is a relatively large county in terms of population with 750 to 800,000 folks, and yet it has within its boundaries neither a UC campus nor a CSU campus. So in terms of serving a relatively large number of folks who don't have immediate access, the community college district is really to be commended for stepping up, and I'd appreciate the opportunity to be listed as a
I'd be
co-author.
honored to add these co-authors. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Liu.
I just also want to be a co-author, and I do
Thank you.
think that as we look forward to more innovative approaches as how do we deliver baccalaureate degrees, this is a model. I know I have other ideas about other kinds of models, and so I would support this effort. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, you may not need a close, but we'll extend that opportunity
No.
to you nonetheless.
Ask for your aye vote. Thank you.
All
Respectfully.
right, thank you. Secretary, call the roll.
Who moved the bill?
Oh, well, Senator Simitian, did you move the bill as amended? Okay, it's been moved by Senator Simitian.
Romero?
Aye.
Romero, aye. Huff? No. Huff, no. Alquist?
Aye, and co-author, please.
Alquist, aye. Hancock? Hancock, aye. Lou? Lou, aye. Maldonado? Padilla? Simitian? Simitian, aye. Wyland? 5-1.
5-1, we'll keep the measure on call.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Honored.
Thank you.
You finished everything?
All right, we have come to the conclusion of the presentation of the bills. Let me just take a moment to thank Senator Huff, my vice chair, for moving bills along in my absence. I very appreciate it. Thank you for doing a stellar job.
Thank you.
Let's go ahead and ask sergeants if you can ask all members to please return to the committee. We're ready to lift calls at this time.
You might as well go down the agenda, except for the consent items. I pulled them all out so we can do them all at once. But every item is on call. So you want to call them, or you want me to go ahead and call them? The bill numbers. Okay. Every item is on call.
Okay, members, every item is on call. If we can ask all members of Senate Education to please report to the committee. Should we go ahead and start doing it one by one and do a couple of rounds?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. We'll go ahead. For those who are here, let's go ahead and start lifting calls. That way you can go ahead and leave, and we'll get the next round. All right, let's start with the consent calendar. These include files items 1, 4, 12, and 18. Call the absent members.
Romero?
Aye.
Romero, aye. Hancock? Aye. Hancock, aye. Simitian? Simitian, aye. 9-0.
9-0. Did everybody vote?
Everybody voted.
Okay, everybody's on that. That measure, the consent calendar is out. Next item is file item 2. This is Assembly Member Monning, AB 1. Call the absent members.
Romero?
Aye.
Romero, aye. Lou? Simitian?
I'm sorry, which number again, Madam Chair?
File item 2, AB 1, Monning.
Aye.
Simitian, aye. Lou, aye. 8-1.
Is that everybody?
Everybody.
Okay, 8-1. That measure is out. Next item is file item 3, AB 66, Anderson. Call the absent members.
Romero?
Aye.
Romero, aye. Alquist? Aye. Alquist, aye. Hancock? Aye. Hancock, aye. Simitian? Aye. Simitian, aye. 9-0.
9-0. The measure is out. File item
5.
File item 5, Carter, AB 174.
Mendoza?
Oh, I'm sorry.
132.
File item 5, Mendoza. This
AB
is AB 132. Call the absent members.
Maldonado? Padilla? Wyland? We have 5-1. Yeah, it is out.
5-1. Let's put that back on call just one more round. It has sufficient votes, though. Okay, file item 6, Mendoza, AB 146. Call the absent members.
Maldonado? Padilla? Wyland?
Let's replace the call one more round. File item 7.
This goes to
And this will go to rules. This is AB 174. Carter, call the absent members.
Excuse me, through the chair, Madam Chair. And
Yes.
I would just wanted to note, and maybe subject to jurisdiction of environmental quality because of the CEQA issues, just for the record.
Okay, absolutely. We will note that, and you should take that up with rules as well. Okay, file item AB 174, file item 7. Call the absent members.
Romero.
Aye.
Romero, aye. Alquist. Aye. Alquist, aye. Hancock. Aye. Hancock, aye. Semidian.
Aye.
Aye. Semidian, aye. 9-0.
9-0, the measure is out. File item 8, Salas, AB 261. This will go to judiciary. Call the absent members.
Romero.
Aye.
Romero, aye. Hancock.
Aye.
Hancock, aye. Semidian.
Aye.
Semidian, aye. 9-0.
9-0, the measure is out. File item 9, Fuentes, AB 332. Call the absent members.
Maldonado. Padilla. Wyland.
Aye.
Wyland, aye. 7-0.
7-0, let's replace the call. Sergeants, if we can find out if Senators Maldonado and Padilla are planning to return to Education Committee, please. File item 10, Assemblymember Torres, AB 339. Call the absent members.
Romero.
Aye.
Romero, aye. Lou. Aye. Lou, aye. Padilla. Semidian.
Aye.
Semidian, aye. Wyland.
Aye.
Wyland, aye. That's 8-0.
8-0, let's
Padilla.
replace the call. File item 11, this will go to Judiciary, Assemblymember Brownlee, AB 572. Call the absent members.
Romero.
Aye.
Romero, aye. Huff. Excuse me, Huff. It wasn't voting. Padilla. Wyland.
No.
Wyland, no. 6-1.
6-1, let's
Yeah, 'cause
replace the
Padilla.
call. File item 13, Assemblymember Torres, AB 769. Call the absent members.
Romero.
Aye.
Romero, aye. Huff. Excuse me again. Alquist. Aye. Alquist, aye. Padilla. Wyland.
Aye.
Wyland, aye.
We'll replace the call. File item 14, Assemblymember Cook, AB 774. Call the absent members.
Romero.
Aye.
Romero, aye. Semidian. Semidian, aye. 9-0.
9-0, that measure is out. File item 15, Carter, AB 796. Call the absent members.
Romero.
Aye.
Romero, aye. Hancock. Aye. Hancock, aye. Semidian.
Aye.
Semidian, aye. 6-1.
6-1, that measure is out. File item 16, Brownlee, AB 947. Call the absent members.
Padilla. Wyland.
No.
Wyland, no.
We'll replace the call. File item 17, Brownlee. Call the absent members.
Padilla. Wyland.
Aye.
Wyland, aye.
We'll replace that one more time, the call. File item 19, Skinner. Call the absent members.
Alquist. Aye. Alquist, aye. Maldonado. Padilla. Wyland.
Aye.
Wyland, aye.
We will replace the call one more time. File item 20, Hill. Call the absent members.
Maldonado. Padilla. Wyland.
Aye.
Wyland, aye. 6-1.
6-1, we'll replace the call. File item 21, this goes to Public Safety, De Leon, AB 1511.
Romero.
Aye.
Romero, aye. Lou. Semidian.
Aye.
Semidian, aye. Well, it's just Lou.
Okay, so let's go ahead and close it.
Okay.
8-0, that measure is out. All right, we are waiting for Senator Padilla to return to committee. We'll go ahead and take up the calls, the remaining bills remaining on call one more round. Do we know when he's coming?
I have two bills that I don't have your vote on yet.
Yeah.
So Well, not yet until she opens it up again.
All right, there are a number of bills that Senator Wyland's eligible to vote on. Why don't we go ahead and accommodate your time, Senator Wyland?
Okay.
All right, this is file item 5 by Mendoza. This bill goes to Judiciary, AB 132. Call the absent members. Or let's just open the roll for Senator Wyland.
Wyland? No. Wyland? No.
All right, we'll replace the call. Senator Padilla is on his way to the committee. And the last one for Senator Wyland is file item 6, Mendoza, AB 146. Call the roll for Senator Wyland.
Wyland? Aye. Wyland, aye.
All right, the measure will remain on call. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we get a reading on Senator Padilla, please?
Well, he owes you big time. Said he owes you big time.
I don't know. Okay, members, we're going to go ahead and close out the committee. We do have sufficient votes to move bills out of committee. Let's go ahead and start lifting calls. File item 5, this is Mendoza, AB 132. It goes to Judiciary. Call the absent members.
Maldonado, Padilla.
5-2, that measure is out. File item 6, Mendoza, AB 146. Call the absent members.
Maldonado, Padilla.
5-1, that measure is out. File item 9, Fuentes, AB 332. Call the absent members.
Maldonado, Padilla.
7-0, that measure is out. File item 10, AB 339. Torres, call the absent members.
Padilla.
8-0, that measure is out. File item 11, AB 572, Brownlee to Judiciary. Call the absent members.
Padilla.
6-1, that measure is out. File item 13, AB 769. Call the absent members.
Padilla.
7-0, that measure is out. File item 16, AB 947. Call the absent members.
Padilla. And we have, oh, I'm sorry.
6-2. 6-2, that measure is out. File item 17, Brownlee. Call the absent members.
Padilla.
7-0, that measure is 8-0, that measure is out. File item 19, Skinner. Call the absent members.
Maldonado. Padilla.
7-0, that measure is out. File item 20, Hill. Call the absent members.
Maldonado. Padilla.
6-1, that measure is out. That concludes Senate Education Committee. Thank you for waiting.
Thank you.